Good evening. We're going to call to order. We'll wait. We'll call to order the City of Douglasville City Council Legislative Work Session for tonight, which is Thursday, May the 12th, 2022. Our invocation will be done by our own Emily Hardaway, Community Outreach Coordinator for the City of Douglasville. And after she presents the invocation, we'll have the Pledge of Allegiance, which will be led by the Mayor Pro Tem, Councilmember Terry Miller. Please stand for the invocation.
Let us pray. Lord, thank you for this beautiful day that you have given us. Thank you for this opportunity to gather together. Thank you for the mayor and council and their willingness to serve their community. I pray that you grant them wisdom as they conduct city business and discern what is best for our community. Thank you for all of the first responders who keep us safe. Please protect us as we leave tonight and head to our homes and keep us safe. In your son's name, amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem, for leading us in the pledge, and Ms. Hardaway, we appreciate you presenting the invocation this evening. I'd like to welcome you to the City of Douglasville City Council Legislative Work Session. My name is Rochelle Robinson. I'm Mayor of the City of Douglasville. This is a work session where agenda items are presented for discussion only, and no official action will be taken on these items tonight. Official action will be taken next Monday at our 6 p.m. voting meeting. If the business you are here for is not listed as an agenda item, there will be ample time under the agenda item comments from citizens and delegates for you to discuss your business with myself and council members. Just a few protocol issues I'd like to go over, and then we can jump right into the meeting. I ask that you would please keep your comments and presentations on a professional level, dealing with the facts that are important for this governing body to make our decisions. We will not accept comments that are considered by the chair to be of a personal attack on any individual or group of individuals. You'll receive a warning from the chair if you deviate from that warning for doing disparaging comments. We will discontinue to have you speak this evening by turning the microphone off. Only one person speak at a time, please. Please do not applaud or react to the speakers or hold on conversations or speak to the audience or be disruptive when you're at the microphone. I remind you that we're only required to accept public comments during the required public hearing for zoning matters. If you have a cell phone or any electronic device, we ask that you would please put those in silent mode or turn those off during the meeting so they would not be disruptive. Now, this is how the work session will be handled. The agenda items will be handled by the committee chairperson. That person will read the agenda item. Then the person representing the agenda item or applicant will make his or her presentation. That will be your opportunity. Present to us at that time. Then myself and council members will possibly ask clarifying questions to help us make a decision, deliberate, and vote on Monday. After that, committee chairperson will ask for comments or statements from the audience. There are 20 minutes for those in favor of the applicant or in favor of the item, and 20 minutes for those in opposition, and each person has 5 minutes to speak. And if you have a big group, you split your time up, but in totality, it's 20 minutes for those in favor and 20 minutes for those in opposition. When you come forward, please give us your name and address for the record, and you have 5 minutes to speak. Each person only has one opportunity. This is not a question and answer or debate format. We're just here to receive the information so to help us make our decision on next Monday. If you have printed material, we'll ask that you would please present that to our city clerk, Ms. Vicki Acker, to my right. She will print that information out and pass it out to myself and council members so that we can read it later. So that's a lot of talk, and that's all the rules for this evening, and we hope that you'll be able to follow along. There are printed agendas outside on the table, on the desk, and the agenda item on the screen. If you'd like to speak to us, there are cards that you should have filled out that you'll put your name and address and hand those cards again to the city clerk, Ms. Acker, and then you'll come to the microphone, give us your name and address, and you have 5 minutes to talk to us about any business that's germane to the city of Douglasville. Now, before we go on with the agenda, we're on number 4. I'd like to recognize the former mayor of the city of Douglasville, Mr. Mickey Thompson. If you just wave your hand. Thank you for your service. We appreciate you being here this evening. You're welcome. So now we'll move on to item number 5, Economic Development Committee, and that's chaired by Mayor Pro Tem Terry Miller.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We have several items under the Economic Development Committee tonight.
Yes, sir.
First is authorize the mayor to sign a memorandum of understanding with the Georgia Department of Community Affairs to continue the city's participation in the Georgia Classic Main Street program. Shae Sterli will give us some information on that.
All righty. We look forward to that.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
My name is Shae Sterli, Main Street Coordinator. Address 6695 Church Street, Douglasville, Georgia, 30134. Annually, the city enters a memorandum of understanding with the Georgia Department of Community Affairs to continue the city's participation in the Georgia Classic Main Street program. This recurring MOU allows the Douglasville Main Street program to continue to use the name and the logos of the national organization Main Street America. We do this every year, and your continuous support of the Main Street program has been instrumental in continuing to improve downtown Douglasville. In fiscal year 2022, Douglasville Main Street, and continued partnership with the Downtown Development Authority has granted $36,000 worth of facade grant funding. Additionally, Main Street has implemented continuous economic development strategies. We've introduced new and exciting programs to encourage increased foot traffic in the downtown area, cultivate entrepreneurship, attract new businesses, diversify the local retail mix, and support the current workforce. With your continued support, we will foster a thriving community downtown. Thank you for the opportunity to serve.
Thank you, Ms. Sterli. Any questions or comments from the members of council or Madam Mayor?
No, sir, I just would like to say, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, welcome. It's good to see your fresh face, fresh new face. So welcome to the city of Douglasville.
Thank you, Mayor. Happy to be here.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I can definitely say firsthand that this program has done some great things, and especially now that we've got so many activities going on in the downtown, that we're on the verge of greatness now. So I think this is going to be fit very well into the programs we've got going on. So if there's any objections, I'd like to place this on the consent agenda for Monday.
Heads are nodding.
Okay, so be it. Thank you very much, Ms.
Thank
Sterli.
you.
Appreciate it. If I may, the next 3 items, I think we can place those all together.
Yes, sir.
They're all appointments, so I'll just read those all at once. Appoint Ms. Elena Hudson to serve as Post 1 member of the Douglasville Downtown Development Authority to an unexpired term expiring March 22nd, 2026. The second is to appoint Ms. Collette Jackson to serve as Post 2 member of the Douglasville Downtown Development Authority to an unexpired term expiring March 22nd, 2026. And the final is to appoint Mr. David Wilson to serve as Post 3 member of the Douglasville Downtown Development Authority to an unexpired term expiring March 22nd, 2026. Ms. Chelsea Jackson, you have some information?
Yes, thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. As you read, Ms. Elena Hudson is seeking reappointment to the post 1 member of the Douglasville Downtown Development Authority. She is finishing her first full term. She also serves as chair of the DDA and is requesting reappointment. Also, Ms. Collette Jackson is finishing up an unexpired term, so her and David Wilson actually started around 2020 in September, and they completed about a year and a half of an unexpired term. So this would be the first full term that they're seeking for reappointment.
So these are all incumbents, basically?
Yes.
And there's no other interest expressed in any of these positions?
No other interests.
Okay. Any questions or comments from council or mayor? Since there's no other competing members for any of these positions, and is in council's interest, I'd like to place this also on the consent agenda for Monday.
Looks like a go.
All right, well, that's all we have under the Economic Development Committee tonight. Madam Mayor?
Thank you so much, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem. We'll move on then to item number 6, which is Finance Committee. That's chaired by Councilmember Mark Adams.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
You're
We have
welcome.
several items tonight under Finance. I can only hope that it will go as quickly as the Mayor Pro Tem. Item A, authorize the mayor to sign an agreement and annual engagement letter with Malden and Jenkins LLC for audit services to be provided for 5 annual terms, beginning with the audit for fiscal year 2022. Ms. Callan and Ms. Jennifer Gordy are going to handle that for us. Ms. Gordy?
Good evening, everyone. My name is Jennifer
evening.
Gordy. I'm the Assistant Finance Director. My address is 6695 Church Street. The Finance Department posted an RFP for audit services on March 8th. The RFP closed on April 8th, receiving 2 bids. A committee of finance staff members evaluated the bids based on the criteria in the RFP. After receiving feedback from 5 references for each of the companies, the committee is recommending Malden and Jenkins be awarded the 5-year contract. Malden and Jenkins' cost proposal for the 5-year term was $4,000 greater than the other firm's cost proposal. However, the committee determined that the level of service provided by Malden and Jenkins, as well as the large clientele that they serve, the continuing education and training that they offer will more than offset this cost difference. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Gordy. Just to be transparent, Ms. Gordy, if you would,
Yes, sir.
share with us how we would go and continue to use Malden and Jenkins since they have been with us for the last number of years. And we put this out specifically in order to have some variety. How are we working that so that it does not cause a problem?
Yes, sir. The audit partner that submitted this proposal is a new audit partner. So the audit partner we have for the previous 5 years will no longer be working on the audit, and this new audit partner will be able to provide a fresh perspective for the city.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Questions, comments, council? Madam Mayor?
Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, Ms. Gordy. Again, we have a bright new face. Karen, you
Yes.
have someone to help you like Moses with Aaron and Caleb to hold up your arms. But I did see in the bidder names with the scores that Malden and Jenkins did, certified public accountants did have a higher score. They had 100%, and the other company had a 90.4. So just to put that into the equation as well.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you,
Good
Mr.
point.
Chairman.
Others? No other comments, questions? Okay. Is there a reason why we could not put this on the consent agenda? Ms. Jackson, do you see a problem?
No, sir.
If that is the case, we would like to do that if we could, please. Moving on to item B, adopt an ordinance to amend the City of Douglasville's fiscal year 2021-22 general fund budget. Ms. Callan's going to bring us all that good news.
Yes, sir. Karen Callan, Finance Director, 6695 Church Street. And this is our 4th budget amendment for the general fund for fiscal year 22. We are preparing for our fiscal year 23 budget. I know you all are excited for next week, our budget workshop, Thursday and Friday, 2 long days. So, but this is wrapping up fiscal year 22. For our revenue section, we are increasing our property tax, and I'll just hit the large items. Property tax revenue, increasing that by $205,000, and TAVT tax by $130,000. For expenses, we are adjusting all our health insurance lines. We are able to decrease expenses by $543,000, and that's largely due to the amount of turnover that we're having this year. I just checked with Ms. Austin Bing before I came up here, and she said we're still down 50 employees. So that's about 20% of our workforce. Overtime line item nets to 0. our full-time line items, decreasing that by $100,000, and just some miscellaneous expenses, increasing those by $3,000. Any questions on the general fund budget amendment?
Council, Madam Mayor?
No, sir.
Okay. Can we go forward with that on the consent agenda, please? Does that need a vote on Monday? We're okay with that?
Looks like it's good.
I'm getting some thumbs up, so let's go forward. Thank you, Ms. Callen. Sit right there. Item C, adopt an ordinance to amend the City of Douglasville's fiscal year 2021-22 hotel motel tax fund budget.
Yes, sir. This is for the conference center, and because of the new Airbnb, the law where we can take in hotel motel tax revenue on the Airbnbs, we are able to increase our hotel motel tax revenue for this fund by $300,000. Also, the facility rentals for the conference center were $41,000 greater than what we budgeted. So there are no expense line items that need to be adjusted, so that money goes back into the fund balance or a contingency line item of $340,000. But also, we do have one adjustment for our catering revenue loss of $8,822, and that's for the proof of the pudding contract.
And that basically is where we have to, for lack of a better term, just shore up their expenses if they do not meet a certain amount of revenue. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Questions, comments? I'd make the same request, if there are none, then to have that on the consent agenda for Monday, please. All right, item D, adopt an ordinance to amend the fiscal year 2021-2022 hotel motel tax fund CVB budget. Ms. Callen.
Yes, sir. This is the other part of the hotel motel tax revenue. One part's the conference center. The second part is Convention and Visitors Bureau. But the same applies because of the increase in the Airbnb rentals, or the new law that passed that says we can collect that revenue. We are able to increase our revenues by $210,000 over what we originally projected. We have two expense line items we're adjusting, one for $70,016, and also one for advertising for park guide inserts that were not originally budgeted for $95.63, and then the balance, we're plugging that back into the contingency of $178,000. Those are just the highlight items. If you look on the second page, you can see the detail of all the other items.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions or comments of council or Madam Mayor on this item? So far, all good news. All good news. Okay, if not, we'd like to place that on the consent agenda for Monday. I'll move on to the last item, E, adopt an ordinance to amend the fiscal year 2021-22 multiple grant fund budget. Mr. Shane Bird is going to help us with that.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. Shane Bird, a County Manager, 6695 Church Street. And similar to the previous items that you saw this evening, we're doing some housekeeping budget amendments. In this instance, we are amending the multiple grant fund for fiscal year 2022. Overall, there are 11 grants that are going to be amended. In many cases, these grants have been already completed. This is just tidying up the budgets or adopting the budgets for those grants as they've taken place throughout fiscal year 22. Something that I do want to note on your page 5, highlighting on the revenue summary, you'll see where our award revenues that we're amending is $2.7 million, whereas the general fund has only had to match $450,000 in these total grants. So that's, you know, something. It tells something about how we are looking for opportunities. Staff is regularly looking for opportunities to maximize federal dollars and to utilize federal programs and grant opportunities to help supplement the things that we do here in Douglasville. One of the grants that I want to highlight as a good example is the Public Safety Officials and First Responders Grant. That was an $89,000 grant that we received from the state of Georgia as part of their ARPA funding, and there was no match requirement from the city. It was awarded by the state of Georgia for public safety officials that were certified police officers as of August 31st, and that was a $1,000 bonus to our officers at that time. So there are grant programs like that that we are taking advantage of to help supplement what we do. Additionally, we're completing the Riverside Parkway Bridge project. I know when I first started back in 2013 here with the City of Douglasville, that was just becoming a project. It was going through the preliminary engineering phase, and now we're getting towards the end where we're wrapping up the budget, the construction's complete, and now we can say that that project is in the books. It's done. So that was another large project that encompassed multiple fiscal years, and here in fiscal year 22, that was where the sole construction aspect took place. It was about $900,000 in construction for that bridge. And then the last thing that I want to make a note of are the local maintenance improvement grants, or the LMIGs. Something to note with that is there's typically a 30% match. Well, with the SPLOS program, we've been able to use our SPLOS transportation component to meet that match and even go above that match requirement, which allows us to take on these grant opportunities as they're presented. So sometimes, often the difficulty is coming up with the matching funds, but with the SPLOS program, that has been, in all totality, a blessing for us to be able to pursue these projects. So it's been fantastic. That's kind of a highlight of the large grant items. Overall, though, again, just to make clear, we were awarded about $2.7 million and only had to match $450,000 of that.
Thank you, Mr. Byrd. Questions, comments, council? Madam Mayor? Yes.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman. I don't know if you're Aaron or Caleb, but it's good to see you, Shane, to help Ms. Karen. Mr. Chairman, I just I just attended the ARC meeting yesterday, and of course, this $1.2 trillion that the federal government is giving to cities, counties, and states to have money for infrastructure. And Georgia's is $527 million, and so we can pull down those resources for finance and transportation and community development with Ms. Reed to help us with LCI, LMIG, all of those grants. And in particular, my ears perked when they said bridges, because if your bridge is in the city limits and you own the bridge, and it isn't like a state bridge or something, it's free. I mean, they'll pay 100%. So I hope that we'll jump in and try to get some of those resources for the transportation and all of that, the money that, that's coming down from the federal government. So this is good news. It's exciting. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Any others? Okay, we'll request then that last item be placed on the consent agenda, making for a shorter time on Monday. And that's all that we have tonight, Madam Mayor, under Finance. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for the Finance team. The next committee is Housing and Community Affairs Committee. That's chaired by Councilmember Dr. LaShawn Berdanley.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We have no business tonight.
Thank you, ma'am.
You're welcome.
Legislative and Intergovernmental Committee, chaired by Councilmember Samuel Davis.
Yes, Madam Mayor. Thank you. No business tonight, Madam Mayor. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you, Councilman Davis. Personnel and Organization Committee, chaired by Councilmember Chris Watts.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We have no business tonight in Personnel and Organization.
Thank you, Coach. Planning and Development Committee, hope you had a chance to catch your breath. Councilmember Mark Adams.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
You're welcome.
We have several items tonight under Planning and Development. We will start with item A, hold a public hearing and consider a request for change in zoning from GC General Commercial and R2 Single Family Residential to PRD Planned Residential Development for 16.5 acres located at 12711, 12701, and 12691 Veterans Memorial Highway, Land Lot 192, District 2, Section 5. Parcels 64, 63, 62, 61, 60, and 59. Parcel ID numbers 019-202-50064, 019-202-50063, 019-202-50062, 019-202-50061, 019-202-50060, and 019-202-50059. Application by Kenneth Woods, Planners and Engineers Collaborative. Ms. Shayla Reed will help us with that. Ms. Reed.
Thank you, Councilman. Good evening, council members. I am Shayla Reed. I'm the Community Development Director for the city at 6701 Church Street. Tonight, we're going to have a quick presentation on some items. You have it in your packet if you want to follow with me. It's the first item on your agenda. Okay. So the property that's being rezoned or requested to have rezoning is an applicant, Kenneth Wood with Planners and Engineer Collaborative. They're requesting to have a single-family attached and detached development along Veterans Memorial in Ward 2. The property is requesting to rezone from GC and R2 to PUD. It has gone before the Planning Commission on 2 separate occasions, and last went before the Planning Commission on May 3rd. The application is requesting to have property zoned from R2 and GC. The PUD zoning with the density or the amount of traffic we're expecting to see in that area is very similar to the GC area that's already out there surrounding the area. So we're not projecting there to be a massive amount of increase, as well as what the traffic study provided that is attached in your report. It has a future land use of mixed use for that particular piece of land, so it is coinciding with that particular future land use, what was being requested. Here you're seeing the location of the actual property, as well as the signs that were posted for this rezoning request. Here are some proposed elevations that are showing where or how the buildings will be aligned and designed. And they're asking to have 99 units. 43 of those will be single-family attached with 2-car garages, and 56 will be single-family detached. The attached will be townhomes. They're proposing a density of 16 acre tract, which will be 6.01 units per acre. This coincides with the 8 units per acre for this particular area. Here's the site plan. As you're seeing, Veterans Memorial Highway will be the main entrance into this location. Whitley Road is aligned near it. However, there will be no access to this site on Whitley Road. The property will have a primary entrance on Veterans Memorial Highway. The fire department does have access to this location. Forgive me, I believe the road is called Pinecrest. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Pinecrest will have the access for the emergency exit should there be any emergency needs. There are 6 conditions that staff is asking to be adopted or approved if this was to move forward. Of course, asking for the density to remain at 6.01, asking for it to align with the UDO, of course, as it mentions, particularly for townhomes and PUD density. Require for there to be a staggering of 3 feet for the townhomes, providing an area for there to be a turnaround for the dead-end streets, and townhomes to be protected with an automatic fire sprinkler system. And then there's 16 additional conditions that the residents have asked for, and we're asking for you to accept that as well. And that is also included in your list of informations that are before you. The Planning Commission also recommended approval of this item, aligning with the conditions that are present before you. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Ms. Reed.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Before we go to the public hearing, as far as folks coming in for or against, let's see if there's any questions that council may have, Madam Mayor may have for our staff. Yes, Madam Mayor.
I do. Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Ms. Reed.
Yes, ma'am.
I did have a question, and this is probably for the police department. I don't know if you can help me, Detmering, about the traffic and the speed on that road on Whitley and Pinecrest, and all. I know those are some of the concerns. And did we talk about sidewalks or something there as well?
One of the conditions, I believe, in the rezoning request is an improvement of the sidewalk, I believe,
Okay.
in part of that area. There is a sidewalk on
Yes.
Whitley Drive.
So they must upgrade the sidewalks for the new development.
Okay.
Yes,
Did you
ma'am.
read that? I'm sorry.
No, I did, but it's a part
It's
of
in
the
the
code.
conditions.
It's
in the conditions. She
I was
did not
trying to
read
read.
it.
Okay. And so the speed limit, I thought we had, we gauged it at one point and had a report on the speed limit in the area.
I can't answer to that directly.
Okay.
I'm not sure, but I know we have very few complaints right now on Whitley and Pinecrest too. I want to say the speed limit's 25 through there, but it's either 25 or 35.
Mm-hmm. So Assistant City Manager, do you recall, do we have did we do a study? Does anyone remember? This has been thank you, Councilmember Miller in.
Yes, ma'am. It's been quite a few months ago that we did one. There have been a few residents who have concerns because that is a cut-through. And I know that we had talked about with the short distance, we're not able to do speed detection devices. And aside from that, I'm just not sure how we would want to move forward as far as ensuring that it doesn't make it too much worse.
Right, if it won't be fast and people going through it and residents being uncomfortable walking. Because I know we had some residents that came in and said that they would walk in the evening, and some elderly, and I'm starting to be with a 55 and older club to walk to at night, and you don't, in the evening, so you don't want cars going by too fast. So I think we did have a report, but I'm not certain what it garnered, the information. So we can, if we can have that for Monday, or just something to help us make a decision.
Okay, this site will not be accessed through Whitley Drive, though.
Oh, okay.
It won't touch, the only access to this will be Veterans Memorial, but I will definitely have an opportunity to share that information with you that you're asking, but I wanted to make sure we note that it's not.
Then that's good. We'll
Yes,
be on
ma'am.
Whitley Drive. Okay. Thank you so much.
Yes,
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Madam Mayor, page 130
Okay.
would be the list of the community members' concerns. I believe there, as Ms. Reed had mentioned, there are 16 of those. And there are questions that were asked and then answers from the developer. And I believe Ms. Reed has mentioned that this would be a also added condition that would be
Correct.
requested as a part of the rezoning.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
I'll ask this question, Ms. Reed. Are there other council members that had questions? Yes, I'm sorry, Coach
Well,
Watts, go ahead.
I don't want to preempt if you were going to
No,
ask this.
no, sir, you go ahead.
I've just now figured out that it was on page 130.
And I apologize.
So I'm looking at that and real quick, but is HOA a requirement?
So the city does not require there to be an HOA for developments, but more than likely, depending on the size, the developer will say if there will be an HOA. So we can ask that question when they're coming up, but we don't require there to be an HOA.
So my next question would have been part of an HOA. I know that we've had some developments over the last couple years where a cap on rentals was part of it, and I haven't had time to scan the 16.
Yes, sir. So if I may add something to that discussion, I know that there's often conversations being had of whether the city can require there to be a rental cap. And so the city does not yet have that authority or ability to do that. That's why the HOAs are very instrumental to helping that, because their own private covenant can necessarily do that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, any other, yes, go ahead, Mr. Estes.
Regarding the HOA, I can't make my way back to where it was listed, and maybe Mr. Wood can point that out, but I saw in the application that there was the 16 stipulations that they offered included an HOA.
Yes, sir.
So-
He'll have an opportunity to speak on that when he comes up.
Yes, we'll give him that opportunity to speak to that. Anyone else? Okay. Yes, go ahead, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem.
Yeah, I was just curious, how the separate access for fire, how does that work? Is that an automatic gate that's electronically controlled, or they have to get out of the truck and unlock it?
So I can't speak on that. I do know that they will be the only ones that have the access. Originally, I thought it was going to be a knock box, is what I'm used to. And he says that we don't do that here. So there's a different access that he will have, or the fire department will have to gain access to the property. Okay. So I can't give you a definite, but I can give you a response by Monday if you would like to have that. Yes, sir.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Others? Okay. Then let's give the opportunity to the applicant to come forward and make your presentation, please. Thank you all for being here.
Kenneth Wood, 350 Research Court, Peachtree Corners, Georgia. Okay, perfect, it's up. Can you guys see this? I know we're passing out. We have 8 of the handouts of the presentation, just because I think y'all have to look kind of upward. And so I wanted to make sure you guys could be able to see this. So thanks for being able to listen to us tonight. We've really worked hard over the last, I guess it's been probably started 8 or 9 months ago, and then really in the last 4 to 5 months it's really ramped up with a lot of different meetings. We have the location here so you can get a feel for where it is in relation to Hunter Memorial Park, where it is in relation to some of the downtown areas, the new projects that are coming up there. And then as I'll show you some different slides about trails and different things that are occurring in the area, it'll be able to tie in for the reason that we are picking the site and believe in it so much. This is a zoomed in view. On the right-hand side, you have Whitley Drive that is there, and then you have Pinecrest on the bottom. Pinecrest dead ends into the park. There's no vehicular access into the park from that location. There is foot traffic that occurs to go through there. And then you have Veterans Memorial that lines up across the street. From there is our frontage. looking at some of the different maps that we have, and for everything you actually heard earlier in the presentations about, the initiatives for the downtown area, that is the reason that we are so excited about the project and being able to do this style of a project. I've actually personally, as some of you guys may know, tried to get, different clients to do this style of a project, a more urban form in a lot of different places. And this is the first one that I really think can set a new standard in here. And so looking at it, you have the future land use map we're compliant with. We're well under the density maximum for it. From a zoning standpoint, the transition as you go toward the single family, toward the park, everything lines up as far as what we're looking for. And this is kind of the stretch where a lot of the sidewalks are getting replaced, a lot of the frontages are getting replaced as you come down through here. And the thing to really focus on is this is the one thing that was so intriguing to us is as we drove the site, as we're coming up and down Veterans Memorial, there hasn't been like new substantial development on Veterans Memorial either side as you really go a long way in each direction. And so when we drove through here, we were kind of seeing all the commercial, and then this parcel was the first parcel that felt like a residential transition, like a transition to a residential parcel. And so that was the driving force behind how can we make that corner, how can we make the plan really cool for how it can set up. In discussions with the staff all the way back for months ago, we realized that there's a trail project. And so as you'll see on the frontage of our plan, we're proposing the 8-foot multi-use trail that will come down in front of our project and then turn and go straight across the street at the main entrance. And that would be constructed by us and part of the trail project that you guys have adopted. This is the site plan that we created, the black and white site plan, and I'll give you some details of kind of where we've been and kind of where we're going. This is the original project. As we first created this project, we actually were like, well, this is it. Like, this is the plan, and we started moving forward. This original plan was over 100 units. It was 105, I believe, and it was 56 townhomes and in the lower 40s on the single-family development. And then what we did after different talks with the community, we had 4 community meetings I'll go over in just a little bit. We realized that it was a much better transition because Whitley Drive was more single family. For that corner and setting that corner on Whitley was for it to have more of a single family feel. And so those would all be rear loaded single family. So the frontage creates that streetscape on Whitley. And you can see we tried to line up, we took away 11 townhomes and added 7 single-family lots. That brought our density down under the 100 that you see and really set up the plan that you have in front of you now. And so this PUD plan that we have on the 16 acres, this is the plan that we really wanted to create because we feel like whether you're on the outside of the community or you drive inside of it, it's really going to give you a feel for what we really think the community should look and feel like. The townhomes are two-story townhomes that front. They're large townhomes, all 2-car garage. They are upwards of close to just under 1,800 square feet, and they front on Veterans. Now, we have them pulled back, so you have that landscaping in the front, the large sidewalks, but they front on Veterans, so they set that edge for Veterans. All the homes on Whitley, they front on Whitley, and then as you go back through that next layer, all those townhomes front on a massive green space in the middle of the property. So we see that green space as one of the central amenity areas. Like I said, we've really been looking for a project that we can front on green space like this, the front doors. We've done it in so many downtown areas, Duluth, Suwanee, and in really cool areas, Alpharetta, where we really wanted to try to set that as part of the community. And so this is, 120, 150 feet apart on places between front doors. So it gives you this huge green space. We can have fire pits, gathering areas, walking trails, and then also parking along all the streets. Every street we have parking along it, so you can pull up to that front door and be able to park and get out. Then as you continue through the community, we have another large green space in the center as well, and that would be another linear park that the homes front on. And then on the right side, in discussions with the neighbors, we had on Whitley, as those were single-family detached homes and they were front-loaded. And so that is our section of front-loaded homes that are there. And then as you go down to Pinecrest, which is at the bottom of your screen, and I wanted to be able to explain this because I got to give all the credit to Shayla. She did a great job and had this, her experience with code enforcement, and then in talking with the neighborhood created this change, is those homes, the 4 homes at the bottom along Pinecrest, those are pushed back 50 feet which we wanted to match how far the homes on Pinecrest were from the road. So we're matching that so it's uniform. But then also, we originally had them as rear-loaded, so they're facing Pinecrest. And what we talked about with the neighborhood and with Shayla was that if they're rear-loaded, whether it's Amazon, delivery services, they're going to pull up there and park on Pinecrest. And that's already a big problem with the park, is people either going down and parking and doing different things or parking along there. And so we made those front-loaded with a fence and with landscaping heavy, and so that won't happen. It's more internalized to the community. So that was a good change that we just recently created in the last 3 or 4 weeks. There is a fire access there. My understanding is that it's a Knox switch. And so there used to be the Knox box, which is more of a key. My understanding is that it's more of like an electronic switch that they turn. Fire department, emergency services can enter through that, and they can basically click it. So it's, I guess, kind of an update to the technology is my understanding, but we can get more details about that as we move along through it. These are some of the different things that we have looked at. You know, there's sidewalks all the way around. We have fencing all the way around the property. There has been a lot of changes to the plan. As I said, all of them, guided through the community. As we've been going through different ideas and different meetings, a lot of different items have come up, whether it's sidewalk, pedestrian connectivity, the look, the feel, cross traffic, signage. So we just wanted to give some different feels as to, how the signage can feel, something kind of rustic but still downtown feeling with the stone. And we tried to give different ideas of how this can feel, from the corner. And so we tried to put, it's always hard to create these perspectives and give exactly, we know that the homes are all going to be very upscale homes, but this is kind of that look with the big multi-use trail along Veterans, all new lighting, pedestrian style lighting along, new sidewalk down along Whitley, and really trying to embrace that corner, so that would be the first thing you see, and then setting the edge all the way down Veterans. This is a look of the townhomes. There'll be a mixture of different major materials. Rear-loaded units that we have, and we got more of these that they are being created. Some with little porches on the side, some like this with more of the awning. Front-loaded homes, all two-car garage as well. And then this is kind of a little bit of the timeline. Is before we ever filed the zoning, we had 2 community meetings. What we're really trying to do, and we've gotten better at over the years, is getting way out in front of these, having the community meetings and finding out, what does the community want to see, what happened in the past, what are their likes and dislikes. And it actually has been a great process. It's probably been one of the easiest communicate neighborhoods I've ever dealt with. They had different representatives, but we had at least 20 to 30 representatives at every meeting. We had 4 meetings up to 2 weeks ago and hashed out all the final zoning conditions that you'll hear tonight on this. And they even, for the first time, we literally would get out and 20 people would walk down the street through the whole property so we could talk about it and really understand what it looks like. And so in addition to the comments that you guys saw, these are 16 conditions that we came up with the community that we really wanted to be included in this. And kind of the highlights to answer a lot of the questions I heard earlier, there will be a mandatory HOA. There are rental restrictions, and we're dealing with the rental restrictions kind of all over the place. If the rental restrictions are in a zoning condition, it is more powerful than the HOA. HOA can change it if they're just in the HOA documents. If it's a zoning condition, they can't. They have to come back before you. And so the conditions for the restrictions are in here. That is to protect everything that we are building as well as the community we are trying to create. Different things you'll see in here is we also committing to, there's sidewalk interspersed on Whitley. It's like there's sidewalk, then it disappears, and then it reappears. It's kind of disjointed. And so we committed to finishing that, where there's no sidewalk, finishing that sidewalk. And that was in response, I think, what you guys heard in terms of the neighborhood about walkability. And because a lot of times you'll be on the sidewalk and then you have to go into the street. And that was one of the issues. So we're finishing that sidewalk so it is complete all the way from the intersection of Pinecrest and Whitley, all the way back up, all the way around our site, and then the frontage of our site on Pinecrest. Lighting is one of the other ones. Lighting along Pinecrest, new lighting, making sure the pedestrian It's pretty dark at night as you go down through there, and that was one of the concerns, and making sure that we do our job on Pinecrest as well, not just our frontage on Veterans for the lighting. GDOT approval, whether it's they do an analysis for the intersection of our main entrance and it's a light or a stop condition, whatever it may be, getting GDOT approval on that for what it is. Minimum, obviously all the minimums for homes, minimums for square footage, size, everything, elevations, cementitious. The fencing was another big one that came up in the last meeting. There was a lot of discussion about cross traffic, the potential for it with the park and everything, and so we committed to wrapping the fence, and so that fence kind of wraps around the different part of the neighborhood except the front. We want the front to have the homes set that edge, but definitely the fence around the other parts of the neighborhood, and we show that on the renderings that we show as well as here on the conditions that we show. The open space as we show it, 30-foot landscape strip on the side, 25 on the other. That would be replanted with evergreens because we need to have more of a permanent screening than what is there today, because most of the places there's not any that's through there. Additional right-of-way dedications that's not there today. There's some substandard right-of-way that's along there, and so we dedicate that. And then the last one was just making sure with stormwater and the trail project that we comply with it, and then all stormwater for the property. We walked and were able to look at all the stormwater issues and understand them, and I think the neighbors do as well. And so with that, we'd love you guys to follow the staff and planning commission approvals and like the project as much as we do. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I'll open the floor. Before I open the floor to the public, are there questions or comments that council members or Madam Mayor may have of the applicant? Yes, go ahead, Madam Mayor.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman. Not really a question, but just a comment. Thank you so much, Mr. Woods. We really appreciate you working with the community. It shows that the quality of your company and that you're willing to meet with the citizens. And of course, Whitley and that area in Pinecrest, those neighborhoods, you know, those citizens have been here a long time in their generational homes, and so we really didn't want to disturb the peace and quiet and the living that they've already had, the quality of life. So we appreciate you working with them, and I'm excited to see in these 16 additional requirements that you do have that 10% of be gone, that you can't go, the maximum of 10% for rental homes at all times.
That's right.
And the no parking signs on Whitley Drive near Hightower Funeral Home. So thank you so much for that.
Absolutely.
We really appreciate that, and thank you to the citizens as well. We're reasonable in this city of Douglasville when people want to work with us, work with you back. So thank you so much. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. That's all I had.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm encouraged. I think we've trained you guys well now. After enough conditioning over the years, we're
no doubt we're good. I found the right developer for sure.
Now, I'm pleased though with this to see a lot of the elements they're putting in. The architecture definitely is a step up. The loading of the conditions of the houses, the fact you've introduced alleyways into it, very nice, and the way you've incorporated the public spaces to make them meaningful and useful versus just simply decoration. Right. So you guys have worked hard, and it's encouraging to see that. So appreciate it.
Thank you.
Not trained, just working with us.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just a question that I had, Mr. Woods, just in passing before we go to the public. You mentioned something about sidewalks. If I'm not mistaken, the sidewalk that's missing, it would be basically from where the vacant property off the corner coming down Whitley from Veterans Memorial. There's no sidewalk there, but I believe the sidewalk picks up in front of the first house on the right and goes to Pinecrest.
It disappears.
Yeah, it's more so it's covered in road.
Okay,
It
okay, but
disappears.
you are committing to taking care of that
That's
and to
right.
improving that sidewalk.
That's right.
Okay.
We walked it, and it.
Okay.
Okay. I don't know what happened. It's one of those things. I don't know. The neighbor, that it's been there so long. I think the earth ate it in some places. It's the best way I can say it. So we're gonna we're gonna try to, we're gonna fix that, where it's not there, so that there is a continuous walk. I mean, I got to see it for myself when, there was a guy, he was on kind of one of those electric wheelchairs, and he just was right down the middle of the road, and I was like, man, if you had the sidewalk, it would be a huge difference. And so that's definitely something we put in there for that.
Okay. The other comment or other question, I want to make sure that everyone understands, because I was confused when I saw the 24-foot private road going in, coming off of Veterans Memorial, turn left and go to a T, and then you just had the street end rather than a cul-de-sac. So I'm understanding that those 7 single-family detached homes would actually face Whitley and use Whitley for their driveway.
No.
Correct?
No.
They would not?
No.
So they are loaded, okay.
They're
So-
rear loaded.
They will face Whitley, but the driveway comes in off of Veterans.
That's correct. They're considered alley loaded homes. The only difference in this, let me pull this up real quick. The only difference is, unfortunately, there's not like a good example. You have to kind of go to another place to really get a good example of this. But what's considered the alley, and it's the nomenclature that we use about alleys. Really, this is not an alley because since it's the only form of access to that driveway, it's a 50-foot right-of-way and it's a 24-foot wide road, but it acts as an alley for those homes so that we can face them on Whitley because from a fire code standpoint, they can't say that we're going to fight the fire from Whitley. They need to be able to get inside, and so that is the International Fire Code has that as a T-turn. That's a T-turn where you come in and it goes left and right and it's less than the 150, so it's an approved turnaround for that road. And so it acts as an alley, but it's essentially the size of a main road. Okay, so you have already cleared the situation by having it less than 150 feet long, therefore you don't have to cul-de-sac the two ends. Yes, sir. Just like we did probably the most recent would be Reservoir that's being built right now, right near the mall. We have kind of those T-turns on that. And it's really, you don't really see that design until you get into this urban form at that point, just because when you get urban like this, cul-de-sacs don't really fit with the urban style, and so you do more of these type of turnarounds. Okay. So basically, you'll have no access on Whitley into this development at all. None. Either for private homes or as an entrance. That's correct. And you'll have a in only for fire access on Pinecrest. That's correct. Okay. With controlled access for the fire department. This being a 24-foot private road, 50-foot right-of-way, or it's not actually gated, but it is fenced. Will the maintenance and care of these streets be private among the individuals as far as HOA, or is this something that you would be wanting to give to the city once complete? I designed them with the same criteria as public. We haven't had the conversation. We're set up to have it as private, but I did all on-street parking as well, and so I could see it kind of go either way. But right now we're set up the HOA as a private road. Well, the only reason I mention is because you have private on your plat. Yes. Rather than a public. That was the intention. Okay. I know, though, we've gotten into once we've gone to LDP on a couple of projects, and the desire was to go more public because they felt like at some point it would anyway. Sure. And so, but right now, that was how we labeled it, just from the style standpoint. Okay. Was there Coach, did you have a question before we go to public comment? Thank you.
I'm debating whether or not to ask it, but that access, the fire lane from Pinecrest, right?
Yes, sir.
There won't be any walkability for the residents in that community if they wanted to go out that way because of the proximity to Hunter Park.
There's a sidewalk shown, but it would be gated.
It would be gated, okay.
So like if you're a resident, you could punch through the sidewalk, you could punch through the gate with your code and then walk down to the park, because that's one of the big attractions for here. But it's not going to let the cross traffic we were worried about because it will be gated.
Okay, thank you. That's good to hear. Thank you.
Okay. We will then give opportunity for the public to come in and speak either for or against the application. We'll start with those that may be in favor. Welcome you to come forward to the podium. You'll have 5 minutes, as the mayor has explained, that we have 5 minutes each for anyone that would speak in support. And if not, is there anyone that, okay, come forward, ma'am. If you'd give us your name and address for the record, please.
Pastor Madeline Hubbard, 7222 Cedar Forest Drive, Douglasville, Georgia. I just have a question because where this is located, our subdivisions are right across the railroad tracks. So will there be some type of traffic lights or some, because the traffic is already terrible now?
I believe the applicant has mentioned that they would follow the Georgia Department of Transportation's requirements, and it looks as though there's an alignment. Mr. Woods, can you verify there's an alignment of Cedar, of the crossing there with the entrance to this? So there will be an intersection, and if the DOT says you have to have a traffic light there, then they are required and are agreeing to do that. Is that correct? So
Okay.
yes, ma'am, there would be a traffic signal or stop sign, four-way, whatever the DOT requires.
Okay, because stop signs are not working right now over there. I'm just
I understand.
making a statement.
I understand.
So the traffic is really congested more now, just trying to get home and everything. So that's why I wanted to know about that traffic.
Thank you, ma'am. Others? Please come forward, give us your name and address for the record, and we'd love to hear from you.
Brian Fisher, 8700 Newborn. So yeah, I just wanted to voice support the team here who's been helping design this layout here. Has really been very receptive to us as homeowners, and a lot of changes have been made as a result of the suggestions that we made, and they took those on in full faith. And so fully support a project like this, especially where we are in downtown with all the redevelopment that's going on. This is just the type of project to bring more people, to demand for more businesses and more restaurants and more shops to be and to enter into downtown. So I think this is an excellent project. On top of that, the biggest thing for me is just fixing the broken sidewalks on Whitley. I mean, I'm one of the rare guys who actually scoots around town on an electric scooter, but so sidewalks actually very important to me. But we also, like you said, we have handicapped individuals who are on wheelchairs, electric wheelchairs, and there's just no way to do it today. So having the ability to have a fixed, repaired sidewalk would be a big deal. So this is one of these rare opportunities I think we see a lot of support for, and I think this is going to be a beautiful area. The only questions and concerns, I don't have any concerns about traffic. I'm down that road all the time. I came from Slater Mill community, which was way worse. So this is no problem for me. One of the questions is just to make sure that the fire entrance for the fire trucks doesn't look like it's a gated community, like a traditional gate would, where people might misconceive that this is the entranceway if it's the first time visiting, that it looks like it's an unauthorized kind of zone. As long as that's done, I think we have a very great opportunity here. So thank you guys for your time.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else?
Hi.
Good evening.
My name is Chris Lovern. My father and I own the business that's on the adjacent property, and my father lives across Pinecrest. And I hate to be very cliche about this, but I'm one of the ones that I didn't just move here from somewhere, and I didn't come here on some real estate thing. I used to ride my bicycle all up and down here. I used to fish in a lake back here, which now has a fence around it on the other side. We just assumed you wouldn't even look back there. So I realize the only thing that's constant in the world is change. Some change is good, some change is not. There are a lot of changes in our county. Madam Mayor, you've been here a while. You know that there have been a great many things that have changed just since you've been here.
Yes, sir.
I don't know whether I stand here supporting because these guys have been very, very accommodating to us, and we appreciate that like you have no idea. Everyone in the community is very concerned about the density of this project. Everyone is very concerned about There's only one way in and one way out. At the same time, we don't want this traffic pouring back through this old neighborhood. You're going to have a lot of people here who are going to be very dependent upon you all and you all to protect us from this. Can either be a very good addition to our community, or things like this can turn us into Moreland Avenue really fast. And I say that because I'm in the automobile business, and I had to go pick up a vehicle out there recently. You look at all these big, fine homes now that are not anymore. And I think there's no need to explain that any further. We love our city. We've been here, and you know, I'm not going to be riding my bicycle up and down there anymore. I'm too old and fat for that now. But I'm very concerned about what might be coming around, and all these people that are going to be in these homes here are going to be concerned about that as well. These officers know here that it's been barely a year ago that they're on my property. I had to apprehend a burglar at gunpoint who came into my business that, had I not been alerted by a camera at my location, we might not be having this conversation. I catch people on my cameras periodically walking back and forth through here. It is very dependent that, very critical that this be fenced and guarded and controlled in such a way that people not be allowed to wander back and forth through it. There's a lot of things that are in transition here in our county, and most of them are good. And there's a lot here, you know, right here downtown, our new, what is that going to be?
Amphitheater and
the amphitheater.
Town Green,
I was
yes,
wanting
sir.
to say arena, but I knew that wasn't right. Standing right on the location where we took down a sheriff's department, that we got a new one that's much better now. But I am one of the people who sat right in that old one as our former sheriff way back, Earl Lee, who looked about that tall, as he stood there and told me I was going to have to straighten my ass up. But that's all I'm telling you that is because we're dependent on our law enforcement. We're dependent on you guys. People get paid and they move along, and hey, I don't fault you guys for that, I think, you know. But we need you guys to put things in place that will protect our community from what could happen here.
Yes, sir.
And I'll finish this up just by saying that we are very concerned about the density of this in this small area here. So with that, I appreciate your attention.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else? Is there anyone here that would speak against the project? If there is anyone else that would like to speak, please come forward.
My name is David Cox, 7223 Cedar Forest Drive. Thank you for the opportunity to talk about this. I didn't know anything about this, first time hearing it. And as my neighbor stated, Madeline Hubbard got up and said, that's a very, very busy area as it is. We've had all this new development down the street of the street that runs parallel to Veterans Memorial, a subdivision there. We've got Braylon Manor there. We have Cedar Place Home Subdivision. And right now, we're having major problems even just getting across the railroad tracks. I think it's great, but I just really feel like adding all of these additional homes and all the traffic that it's going to bring to this particular area. We're even having problems now just even getting downtown Douglasville. I try to avoid that area at this point, but coming from the Bright Star area, coming back to my house, I hate coming that way because the traffic is backed up so bad from Bright Star, and you're talking about putting one-way entrance into a subdivision where people are going to be coming in and out of there. Even if there is a light, those of us who live around there, it's going to take us forever to get through there. It's just going to be a very congested area. And so it's just a matter of concern. It's not whether I'm against it. I just want you to be mindful of us, those residents who are already there, and the number of people in the houses that have been developed in this area within the past 5 to 10 years. And the traffic has just been, it's just atrocious. People are running stop signs. We're having problems where, even with Braylon Manor, high-speed chases coming to roads that are, I mean, there's a lot of things that are going on. So just be mindful of the cut-throughs and the traffic. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? How much time do we have, Ms. Acker? Sorry? Okay. Anyone else that would like to make a comment, for or against, before we close the public hearing? Okay, we'll close that portion of the public hearing, and I believe our city attorney, Mr. Joel Dodson, had a question for the applicant. Is that correct, Mr. Dodson?
I do. Mr. Woods, your project contains a proposed restriction on rental units. As I understand it, you want to restrict rentals to 10%.
Yes, in the conditions we're proposing.
Okay, well, I assume you have a team of lawyers. Have you drafted any restrictive covenants as of now that restrict rentals?
No, so the way we're doing it, the way we're seeing this in all the municipalities we're going to is that the covenants are drafted during the LDP process toward the end of that, and that would be the HOA documents, and they would include these whatever the zoning conditions are that guide them. But the reason we're asking, and like what Chris talked about, I talked to him earlier, is the 16 conditions are so important because that's the protection. Because if it's in the zoning condition, it gets into the HOA, we have to match that. But even if the HOA, in 4 years from now, they all have a meeting and say, let's rent or something, they can't do that because it's also a zoning condition, and zoning conditions go with land.
Well, one of the issues that's percolating in Georgia is simply this. Under the existing state of Georgia law, myself and a great many local government attorneys are of the opinion that local governments cannot dictate to homeowners whether they can rent their property or not. That's never been recognized as a local government power prior to this. And until there's a appellate court decision that will hold that's legal, I have serious doubt about any zoning conditions that would limit the amount of rentals. The other issue is the city would have no way to enforce such a rentals. Leases aren't filed in the deed records. And, what would be the violation of the zoning if that happened? The entire zoning is revoked after the place is built? As a practical matter, city enforcement of that is going to be, in my opinion, an impossibility. Now, the issue about covenants, I have no doubt you're going to draft some. But the problem with covenants is if you sell the lots before the conditions are filed in the deed records, they don't bind the buyers of the lots. How are you going to handle that? Are you going to put the conditions on record before you sell any lots, or is it your plan to sell off the lots and then file the conditions after everything's built?
I mean, the HOA documents are drafted before there's any sales.
Well, I point that out so that no member of the public will get the false idea that this will be something that's readily and easily enforced. Now, under Georgia law as it stands now, restrictive covenants can restrict the amount of rentals. But even if you do that, you have to have some effective way of ascertaining how do you get that 10%. Are you going to designate particular houses that can't be rented? How are you going to tell if one's rented? Are you going to require the leases to be filed with the HOA and they approve it? If a guy gets permission to rent his house for 3 months and the tenant moves out, does he have to get permission again to rent it again? How do you calculate that 10%? I wouldn't want to be in charge of that, frankly.
I mean, I can tell you how we do it elsewhere, and that's all I can speak to, is we're doing this everywhere and not getting pushback on it. And the way they're doing it is when the HOA is established, the HOA is responsible for keeping track. If you want to apply your house to be rented, you reach out to the HOA and get put on that list, and they keep track of it. My old townhome where I lived in earlier in life, they did the same thing, and they were super strict about it. That's how I see it work. I mean, there's a lot of legal stuff in there I don't know that I can talk to, but we're definitely seeing this work in the really nice, the high end. These are going to be upwards of 400 plus. I mean, we're seeing it work. I know, I'm sure there's, I know there's a lot of talk within the courts that are happening and everything, but that's having it in the zoning conditions and having followed through with the HOA is how we're seeing it work, and they're having success.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Woods. I wanted to make sure that was brought out because in no way do I want it to be thought that the city would have the ability or the control to be able to limit the number of rentals in the development. If that were the case and we were thought to be able to do that, I mean, we'd have subdivisions all over the city with people upset at us because we weren't enforcing a rental requirement or limitation that we have no way of enforcing. I just wanted to make sure that came out.
Yeah, that would go, with any development anywhere, but it definitely gives the teeth so the HOA is strong.
Okay. Other comments or questions? Coach, you look as though you want to ask.
Well, I asked the question before we even got to everything. And so I just want to clarify that it's always been my understanding that once an HOA is taken over by the community of homeowners, they're the ones that have to enforce it. I live in an HOA community, and we just added a 10% cap through a vote amendment, but you're seeing more and more of that. It's becoming more popular because folks want to live in a homeowner type community. So anyway, I was not trying to imply by my question that the city was going to have any enforcement. And I'm not smart enough to figure all that out. I just wanted to clarify. My question was related to my understanding that if they had it in the HOA covenants that they put forth, that once the homeowners took over that community, they would take over the HOA, and that would be their responsibility.
Self-governing, in other words.
Yeah, right.
That's
That
correct.
was my understanding, but I didn't mean to.
And then having it in the conditions keeps it with the land too.
Okay, one other thing I just want to bring to light. Number 3 in the proposed conditions of zoning, and I'm assuming that the surrounding homeowners have come up with this and you all have agreed to it. I want to make sure that everyone knows our position as a city. Applicant to work with the City of Douglasville Public Works Department to help and assist the city with recommendations on where the city can install traffic calming speed tables along Whitley Drive for cut-through traffic and no parking signs near the corner of Whitley Drive and the existing funeral home. The parking signs I would see no issue with, but we do have an ordinance in the city that requires a certain process that has to be adhered to concerning speed breakers. And that includes a traffic study being done on every neighborhood that requests that they have speed breakers put in. And that traffic study would be paid for by the neighborhood, not by the city. So I need to make sure that everyone understands that, and there are criteria because there may be as many homeowners that live on Whitley Drive and Pinecrest that don't want them as there are that do. So that's not something that's just an automatic, and everyone here on the council knows that because we've had experience with it. But I want it to be transparent to the homeowners, to the community of what we're up against there.
So the way that came up was there was a lot of, we had probably 30 different people that lived very close to it. And there was a lot of discussion. Ms. Felicia's not here. She'll probably be here on Monday to talk about that. She represented a lot of the owners. And so the way it came up is there was talks about Whitley being a one-way and then Whitley having some type of break, because what's happening is, whether it's the morning or early dismissal from the high school, is you hit Waze when you get in your car or Google, and it takes you that way.
Yes, sir.
And so they're having this cut through. And so the discussion was about, can we, since we're, from a technology standpoint, can we, if approved and we're going through with Public Works, can we talk to them about what does that process look like? Can Pinecrest, can Whitley, does it have enough stretch to be able to have some type of, whether it's a detection, a rumble strip, something, so that if cars are heading down through there, they might do it once, but if they get, if they hit that bump once, they probably won't do it again. And it really came from the concerns about the speed every now and then. Not that it's every day, but different cars are going at a higher rate of speed.
We have had some complaints in previous applications concerning this development or concerning this area about homeowners wanting us to make it a one-way street or put up speed detection devices, and it's very limited there as to the right-of-way as to setting up something like that. I don't think it meets the distance requirements that you have to have in order to put a speed detection device there, according to the police department. My late aunt lived there on Whitley Drive for over 50 years. First house on the right when you turn off Veterans Memorial. I'm very familiar with it. And I understand the feelings and the concerns of the homeowners, but I also want our community to realize what our limitations are, that we have to try to work around as we try to help all to have a good quality of life.
Sure. And so from my commitment in there, I just was going to talk to Public Works about, can a speed hump, potentially, does it meet the criteria to be installed?
Sure.
Because it sounded, you were right, as far as the one-way, 50% that I talked to liked that idea, 50% did not like that idea. And so, but the speed, some type of speed break, it seemed like everybody thought that would be a good idea. Maybe not everybody.
See what I mean? Okay. Thank
But
you
I have
so
to
much.
try.
Thank you so much. We appreciate that. If there are no other comments, we will, I'm sure that we have exceeded our time tonight on this item, but it's good discussion, and I appreciate everyone coming in. We will take this item up then on Monday. If there's no other questions or comments, we'll move forward. Thank you all. We'll go to item B, hold a public hearing and consider a request for a change in zoning from RLD Residential Low Density County to PUD Planned Unit Development City for plus or minus 3.14 acres, and to consider a request for a change in zoning from PUD Planned Unit Development District zone property to amend the special stipulations of zoning for 24.29 acres on Slater Mill Road, land lot 80, District 1, Section 5, parcel 47 and 48, parcel ID numbers 008-001-50047 and 008-001-50048. Application by Century Communities of Georgia, LLC, care of Dakota Carruthers, and Ms. Shayla Reed will help us with that.
Councilman, is it possible to take both items together?
Yes, ma'am. Let me go. Yes, ma'am. Let me go ahead and read item C, and then you can handle those together. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you. Consider a petition to annex 3.14 acres on Slater Mill Road, land lot 80, District 1, Section 5, parcel 48. Application by Century Communities of Georgia, LLC, care of Dakota Carruthers, Ms. Shayla Reed.
Thank you. Council members, the items before you, both items would have served as an annexation and rezoning, but the applicant has asked for those items to be withdrawn. And so we'll wait to hear from you to direct staff on how to move forward on those two.
Okay. Do you have any information as to the planning board's decision or recommendation?
Sure, yes, sir. During the May 3rd meeting, the Planning Commission heard a presentation by staff as well as the applicant, as well as residents. And during that time, the Planning Commission recommended denial of the application. The applicants then asked for us to withdraw the application after that meeting. And so with that being said, those two items were requested to have a withdrawal. And staff does support that withdrawal.
Okay. Questions, comments of Ms. Reed concerning this item? Yes, Madam Mayor.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman. So for our legal eagle, Mr. Dotson, do we just not take any action, or do we, what, is it withdrawn?
Well, once upon a time, your ordinance allowed a applicant to withdraw his application at any time.
Mm-hmm.
You changed that for a couple of reasons 3 or 4 years ago, so that now if an application is withdrawn after the P&Z hearing, it has to be approved by the council. Now, under the zoning law, before you can vote on a zoning application, you have to have public hearings. In this case, our ordinance provides a hearing at the P&Z board, a hearing tonight, a hearing Monday. If you don't have a public hearing tonight, which you can just not have the hearing. All that means is you can then not vote on Monday to approve it or reject it. All you could do would be to accept the withdrawal. So that's the legal significance of that.
Okay. Thank you so much, Mr.
Yes.
Dodson.
Other questions or comments? So basically then, Counselor, you would suggest if the request has been that it be withdrawn, their application be withdrawn, both items B and C, then we would not hold a public hearing, and then we would take into consideration on Monday a vote as to allow that withdrawal, correct?
Yes, if you don't have the public hearing, that would be your only option on that.
Okay. Then if they are withdrawing their application, I would see no reason why we would have a public hearing, because if they do come back and reapply at some point in the future, they have to start all over again. Okay. Any other comments you would have, Ms. Reed?
No, sir, not at this time.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
We'll move forward then to item D. Hold a public hearing and consider a request for a change in zoning from PUD Planned Unit Development to PRD Planned Residential Development for 9 acres located at Vanzant Mill Road, Landlocks 193 and 224, District 2, Section 5. Parcels 13, 28, and 34. Parcel numbers 022-402-50013, 022-402-50028, and 022-402-50034. Application by the Benoit Group, LLC, care of Raven Thompson. Ms. Reed.
Thank you, Council Member. The item before you tonight is a rezoning request for Astoria Crystal Lake. This property is requested by Raven Thompson. She has served as the primary contact for this particular request. They are asking for a high-density apartment dwelling for seniors, or primarily for the senior age. The property is located along Chicago Avenue in Ward 3. And they're requesting to rezone the property from R2 to PUD. The property rezoning request is consistent with what's near the area. The area consists of PUD or R2, which are all or both residential zoned areas. So the rezoning is necessarily similar to what's in the surrounding area and would not propose any issues from a zoning perspective. There's a medium-density residential for the future land use component, and it does coincide with the medium-density residential for the request for future land use. There are concerns in regards to density, and we'll speak on that. But the sign notification and location you're seeing here, we've added that to identify that we've met those requirements for sign posting. The site itself is about 9 plus or minus acres. They're requesting to have 165 residential units that will consist of 1 to 2 bedrooms with a minimum square footage of 750 square feet or 1,050 square feet. They're proposing to have a density overall of 18 units per acre. Your comprehensive plan identifies this area to be a minimum of 4 units per acre. With that being said, there is going to be a high density for this area should it be approved at that particular count at 165. And the particular site itself comes off of Chicago Avenue directly. It's near the Chicago Park subdivision. Originally, as you may recall, that was all one big development during the time of that development for Chicago Park. This is how the buildings would align. You're seeing 2 separate buildings here. That would be 3-story along Chicago Avenue. Staff believes that should this item be approved, coinciding with how we've done in the past with multifamily, requiring there to be a camera system installation near the entrances of the subdivision, which is something that our police department has asked for, as well as staff asking, because of the request for it to be a senior housing development, we're asking for it to remain as that during the duration of the construction, as well as the livelihood, or the lifespan, I'm sorry, of the development. And then lastly, staff is asking for this to not have the 18 units per acre, but have the 10 units per acre, as we have seen that before recently with apartments of this landmass. With that, staff provides that the Planning Commission recommended approval with staff's conditions in mind. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Ms. Reed.
Thank you.
Questions, comments, council, Madam Mayor, Coach Watts for Ms. Reed?
I did have a quick question.
I'm sorry, I didn't see her. I saw you first, Coach. Go ahead, Madam Mayor.
You've been a gentleman. I just wanted to ask, is this related to the church? Is this the same?
That is correct.
Pardon me?
That is correct.
Yes, it is.
Yes, it's Golden Memorial.
Yes,
That is
ma'am.
correct.
Thank you.
Okay, Coach.
When we have an age restriction, like the city staff is proposing, how is that enforced?
Well, that is the age restriction that the applicants have provided that they would like to have. We're asking that it remain that. One reason why staff is asking for it to remain that is because the high density that they're proposing to have is not aligning to what we're wanting to see when it comes to traffic. So staff is asking to reduce it from 18 to 10. We don't see a lot of vehicles being used with 62 and above. Usually it's only either one vehicle per household. You're not going to see multiple cars. And so with that, we're asking if we're going to go above the minimum of 4 and going to 10, that's required for it to remain that specific use of 62 and up in age.
So then the enforcement of the age restriction would actually be on the backs of the management company.
That is correct.
The owners of the property.
That is correct.
Okay. Does that answer your question, Coach? Anyone else?
Yes, thank you.
Yes, go ahead.
Chairman Adams, thank you so much. I have a question. I see the site plan. Do we actually have a copy that we can see of the building, building itself?
So there's a presentation that the applicant will have that gives illustrations. I will say elevations were not provided to us for this particular site, so I'm not certain as to what it will look like, but my actual presentation here showed how the actual land will be aligned during my presentation.
Also, another question is Chicago Park Subdivision. I know I'm really excited about this coming back up. I know they've been working very diligently. But Chicago Park Subdivision, just wanted to see, has the developer had a chance to speak with the residents in that subdivision?
Okay, so that would be something
There
that
was
hasn't
going to
been.
be a buffer. I'm sorry.
That would be something that the applicant will be
Okay.
able to express directly.
All right.
Yes,
Thank
ma'am.
you.
Others? Question, comments? Yes, go ahead, Mr. Davis.
Yes, thank you. So would that be a different exit and entrance way, or it's all going through Chicago Park?
So from the design that they're showing here, you'll see that it's exiting and entering on Chicago Avenue.
Okay, not through Chicago Park.
No, sir.
One question that I have, Ms. Reed, in the packet that's just been handed out, and you had mentioned this earlier to me, is it looks as though the site has been moved.
Yes, sir.
There was a previous site that
Thank
was
you.
further off of Chicago Avenue and was actually not accessed from Chicago Avenue.
Thank you. Yes,
And
sir.
now the current site that they're showing is actually accessed off of Chicago Avenue.
That's correct. So my staff report, it identified, closer to the last few pages, I identified that this was an actual plan that came before you all, I think 2019. There were about maybe 5 or 6 slabs of land that you all allowed for there to be a PRD rezoning for this particular same development of senior living development, I'm sorry. And it was allowed for it then. I don't believe staff, and I can't speak to 2019, but I don't believe it would have been a massive issue then because it was a collective development. But this would be something that's entering directly off of Chicago Avenue.
So the entrance point is different than it was in
That is correct.
2019. They were, if I'm not mistaken, going through their property
Yes.
to access that off of, was it James Simpson?
I can't recall.
If I'm
the
not
street.
mistaken, I believe it was. So this is a totally different development. This would be a totally different development plan on a
Right.
totally different site.
Same development, but moved closer towards Chicago Avenue to having a direct access to Chicago Avenue.
Okay. Other questions or comments before we open it to the
I
applicant?
have one other question.
Yes, go ahead,
Will there be?
Ms. Burdett.
Well, so you have the Golden Memorial, and I guess it's maybe a question also for the developer. Will the residents be able to access an entrance from the church?
I don't have
Like
an
a
answer for that one.
walking trail or?
I don't have an answer for that, but we can definitely
Sure.
ask the
All
applicant when she comes up.
It appears to me that with the site being moved, I'm not sure that they'll be directly connected.
Yeah.
But we'll ask
far.
the applicant.
but just that connectivity and
Yes, ma'am.
walking.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Yes.
I have one question, Ms. Reed. Mr. Roberts brought to my attention that this tract is apparently transected by a roadway, once known as Vanzant Mill Road. Were you furnished any information about that?
Yes, sir. So I've spoken with Mr. Robertson in regards to it, and so the information that was provided by the applicant identifies a road that our Public Service Department doesn't have record of. So with that, we don't have any record of that road existing necessarily. So that is something we'll have to tighten up during the development side.
Well, that's the point I was trying to make. The rezoning, there's no necessity to do anything about that road. But if the council chooses to rezone it, that is not an implied consent that the council will agree to close any public right-of-way that may be there. Nor is it a declaration by the council that it thinks such a road has been abandoned if it exists. That's something that the legal team for the developer is going to have to flesh out.
Okay.
So, as I say, it doesn't affect the rezoning, but it certainly might affect a development plan.
Correct. Okay.
Other questions or comments? Okay, we want to hear from the applicant on this, so if you all would come forward, give us your name and address for the record, and tell us about your development.
Greetings, my name is Raven Thompson. I am the development manager for the Benoit Group, address 6780 Roswell Road, Atlanta, Georgia. And thank you for having me today, first and foremost. I wanted to, I guess, just recap basically that our development has come before you all back in the latter part of 2019 and was approved in the spring, I believe, of 2020 from the dates that are on the ordinance number ORD-2020-10. And so I have provided you all with some PowerPoint slides just to basically do an overview of the property. So as you see with slide 1, our project is going to be a new construction, 3-story or 3/4 story that will have a terrace level to it for 62 plus, which is actually a designation as it relates to section 42 of the IRS code along with Georgia DCA housing. This project would be a 4% tax exempt bond project, which is a non-competitive form of financing. Also, just a little bit about my background. I come from the state housing agency, both in Mississippi as well as Georgia DCA. I served here in Georgia for about 2 years before I moved over to the development side, and I actually worked in the Housing Finance and Development Tax Credit Department, so I'm quite thoroughly versed as it relates to low-income housing tax credits. And again, I just want to reiterate that this is a tax-exempt bond, which is non-competitive. So basically, the only requirements is that we meet the Georgia DCA threshold. We meet their margins of underwriting as it relates to the 1.2 debt coverage ratio that they require. And the tax-exempt bond will only cover roughly, as it relates to the capital stack, about 40%. And then as a developer, we have to go out and source the deal to fill the gap. So as we go to the next slide, we'll basically do an overview of the senior development. You'll get to see the site plan, which is the nice big drawing that my architect from Niles Bolton, who is also here to answer any questions that you may have as it relates to the design, as well as Eberly and Associates, Josh Carnes, excuse me, I'm a little bit nervous. Josh Carnes, who is also our civil engineer. Then I will talk about our project schedule. I'll go through our development team, and then we will kind of address the land use and proposed land use and challenges. So the preliminary site plan, as previously stated by Ms. Reed, It's off of Chicago Avenue. It would be again, 3-story or 3/4 story with a terrace level project. It has 2 buildings to accompany it off of Chicago Avenue. We are in a joint venture partnership with Golden Memorial Church. Building 1 will consist of 100 units, and the square foot of each level of those units will be 37,444 square feet for level 1, 2, and 3. Building 2 will consist of 65 total units, and each levels 1, 2, and 3 will be 21,904 square feet. As it relates to the cost of the development, we are looking at $37 million in total cost. The unit mix will consist of 114 one-bedrooms at 60% AMI. Rents will be around $992. You have 5 one-bedroom units at 50% AMI. Designated rents will be around $817. We have 46 2-bedroom units at a 60% AMI, which is area median income, and rents roughly around $1168. We have a 1-to-1 parking ratio, which gives us 165 parking spaces. Again, this project is designed where it's 1 and 2 bedrooms stacked. It will be gated, as you see on the site plan, where you can enter in off of Chicago Avenue. And there is a card access for the residents to be able to enter and exit, as well as for if someone is leaving, they will come out the south end. As someone is entering, they will go into the exit off of Chicago Avenue to the north end. Is that correct? Okay. Again, this project comes with certain checkoff box requirements that we are required by the state to have. Common areas such as community room. We will have a fitness center, a community garden area. It will have elevator access in the building. We will have closed circuit cameras, secure building entrances, and then some of the standard requirements for amenities would be kitchens with refrigerators, oven and stove, dishwashers, microwave, garbage disposals, equipped with ceiling fans, central heating and air, carpet in the living areas, and vinyl tiles in the kitchen and bathrooms, grab bars and emergency call systems, washer and dryer hookups in units, or laundry facility if required. Now, on slide 7 that you guys are looking at, these are the income limits for 2022, which are basically set by HUD, and then that's how we kind of go in and look at the rents based off the income limits. And a one-person household at 6% AMI. So one person, if they're making $25,000-$30,000, but you see here it says $40,500. They don't have to make that much to qualify to get in that unit. They just can't go over that amount for that household, for the person in that particular household. And again, with this being a 62-plus household, everyone in the household, even if it was a 2-person household, would have to be age 62 or older. As it relates to compliance, there's a 15-year compliance period. We're monitored by the state. They will come in every year. They will do an audit of the heads that are in that particular unit, as well as their finances, et cetera, for the first 15 years, as well as our investors that are invested in the project. They also do their own inspections where they come out to the property, they go through the files, they make sure everything lines up, because as it stands with the state tax credits, if we are in any way, shape, form, or fashion out of compliance, the IRS can step in and pull back the credits. So we are kind of governed and protected on all fronts as it relates to the projects. As it relates to the project schedule, We are currently now going through the zoning approval. We anticipate submission of our full LIHTC application May 31st, which is a hard deadline received from DCA. It takes about 75 days for us to get the letter of determination back from DCA. In that process, we're working on finalizing construction pricing, working through submitting and receiving our permits, going through our 90-day due diligence process. In this particular financing, to help supplement the 4% tax-exempt bonds, we are using what we call a MTEB, which is basically a Fannie Mae form of lending that they kind of come in and give us the loan to complete the project, and then we use the bonds once they're sold, the proceeds to pay off that loan, and then it converts into what we call a more permanent financing. Construction period, 18 months. Construction completion, we've anticipated March 28 of 2024. Lease-up period normally starts about 90 days out, or 90 days into the construction completion, so that should take us about 6 months from January 1st of 2024 to May 31st of 2024. As it relates to our development team, the Benoit Group, we have been established now for over 12 years, and experience combined with the owner is over 20+ years. Our government partner, again, is Georgia DCA. Our architect is Niles Bolton, civil engineer, Eberly and Associates, contractor, J.M. Wilkerson, and our property management company is Dorchester Management. Which brings us back to the land use. As I was notified initially by Ms. Reed that there was a land use density roadblock that we were running into as it relates to the number of units per acre. Again, the initial site back in 2020 roughly acquired about 20+ acres, but had to abandon that project due to the water feature that ran through the area that we were going to build the project on. So the land that it's still a contiguous tract of land, it's just a different tract. Again, tract ending in 34 and 28 and 13. We stuck with the 165 units because, again, as it goes back to the tax-exempt bonds, it will not be feasible to build a 90-unit project with tax-exempt bonds. I mean, the upfront cost that goes into putting that financial structure together as it relates to the bond counsel, bond attorneys, underwriters, et cetera, is highly, highly expensive. And then on top of that, the hard debt that we take out, we have to make sure that the gross rent revenue will support the hard debt that we have to take out in order to construct a tax-exempt bond project. So that is first and foremost why I urge you all to be lenient towards allowing us to build the 165 units based off of what it takes, the finesse that it takes to go in to make this project work. And also, I wanted to, I dived in and did a little research as it related to the housing study for Douglasville, and I see where the Atlanta Regional Commission did a study back in June of 2021, and it says in order for the city of Douglasville to meet its housing demand, that's slide number 12, which you all don't see here. I added those slides a little bit at the last minute, but I did mention this in the planning. But the ARC Commission, in order for the city of Douglasville to meet the housing demand, 140 new units per year between 2021 to 2025 for a total of 700 units. To prevent a mismatch in households with varied incomes and preferences as it relates to the type, Douglasville must invest in a variety of housing stock options. Secondly, as it relates to the data analysis, which is on slide 13 that you all are looking at, per the data analysis and stakeholder engagement conducted by the Atlanta Regional Commission, it has been found that Douglasville does lack certain housing types, such as missing middle housing, higher costs for sale single-family housing, new multifamily housing, and I put in bold senior housing. Slide 14, Atlanta Regional Commission also states that Douglasville is home to an aging population whose needs will evolve over the next couple of decades as aging adults become a larger part of your population. Some of the statistics show 10% of the population age 65 plus in 2019, 18% age of 50 to 64 years, and is expected to grow in the next 15 years. With that said, the city of Douglasville is working to meet some of those needs with 170 new units in the early stages of development and another 308 units in different stages of zoning review. And slides 15 and 16 are some of the elevations as it relates to our project.
Thank you very much, ma'am.
Okay. And just to add, and you're probably going to ask this question, we've done our due diligence to make sure, just from the last conversations that we've had in the past, that our project complies with the height requirements, so that the fire trucks have the access that they need to the property. We've also complied with the buffers as it relates to the city, state, and county with the 75-foot buffer because of the water feature that was also found on this particular site, which kind of shrunk it down from the 11 acres that we were looking to acquire down to the 9.
You answered my question. I was curious, from 2019, I did not remember what the size of the tract was that we originally did in fact approve. It was 11 acres and this one is 9.
No. The first development was roughly around 20 plus acres.
Okay.
And then this particular acre here is a total of 11, but it shrunk based off the water features that were found when we walked the site. It shrunk it down to about 9 plus or minus acres.
Okay. Questions, comments? I see that Ms. Berdanley is perked up here and wants to ask a question, so we'll call on her first.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Mayor, did you have any?
No, I'll let
Okay.
you.
Thank you, Chairman. I would definitely encourage a conversation with Chicago Park Subdivision. I know they were involved before, so I don't see anyone here at Chicago Park. Is that in the, will that be in the process?
Yes, it is in the process, and it has been in the past. I do understand that our property lines do abut the property, but we do have a buffer that's roughly around 100 plus or so feet. So we won't actually be directly in their backyard, or not so close. The traffic study also that was performed does show that there will be a very minimum impact as it relates to traffic into the Chicago Avenue area. The Vanzant Mill Road, I was notified by the people that are over the streets, et cetera, that road has been abandoned. So we basically use that as it relates to adding extra space for our development. And we also added, which was not required from the traffic study, but we did include into our design a decel lane off of Chicago Avenue into the property site.
Right, just out of courtesy to the residents there. Also, will you need support from the Housing Authority to acquire the bonds?
Yes, we do have the bond resolution from the Housing Authority.
Okay, so you've received that.
So
Okay.
all the financing and everything that we need is already lined up to submit the project to Georgia DCA.
And my last question is, so this project with the Department of Community Affairs is about 15 years, is that correct?
The compliance period where we're monitored by the state and the IRS is 15 years. There's a law that would be attached to it, which allows a 30-year affordability on that property still. So even after the 10 years, we can go back in, re-syndicate, upgrade, whatever needs the property may have after its usage in that time.
You know, and I do support tax credits. However, after 15 years, what I've seen in the past is that the property is sold, and then the residents that live there, the cost to live there is so ridiculously high that they can't afford it.
And that is the case, provided if we decided to opt out, but we are tax credit developers. That's what we specialize in. So we don't have a history of opting out of our properties.
And what about like, how often do you increase rent per year? I know that there have been developments in the surrounding areas that really push seniors out. It starts out really great, and then rent is increased every year, a lot of times more than what they can afford. Most of them are on Social Security income.
Okay. Well, I really would have to reserve the right to get back on that because I'm not actually on the property management side. I'm more so on the developer side. What I can tell from experience as being a property manager in a LIHTC property, rents only go up based off of the cost of living as it relates to HUD and when they come out with new rents and regulations. And again, if the tenant comes with any type of voucher, we accept that, and they only pay 30% of what their income is. So it doesn't matter about what the rent is as long as they can come with a voucher. And again, if they are, able to afford the rent when they come into income qualify, I can say that we do work with our tenants. And of course, we work very closely with our shareholders like Georgia DCA because they have plenty of funds to where they can pay rent up for a tenant for 18 months and, help them with their rent, as well as we have what we call a social expression third party that works with our residents as it relates to LIHEAP, et cetera, to get them a reduction in costs on utilities, et cetera.
Right. And, in Ward 3, we have, like I said, I'm definitely in support of affordable housing. And, of course, with seniors, the demand for senior housing is definitely a demand. And in Ward 3, I share the ward with Councilman Davis, we have several tax credit developments there, as well as the Housing Authority, and we're working very diligently on trying to bring in economic development to our residents. So I guess this question would be to our Assistant City Manager with this development and the conversation that I've had with you and Aaron. Will this strengthen? I know it's kind of maybe hard. I'm not trying to put you on the spot, but I really want to know.
We would, I can talk further with Aaron regarding this, but we would definitely have to look at all of them that are around this area, and we can follow up with you and get an answer to you tomorrow.
Right. Does that make sense what I'm saying? Yeah, because we have a development on 92 that has tax credits, and then the Housing Authority is there. We have Douglas proper that's right up the street from this development that is also tax credits, and we want to make sure that we can bring some strong economic development to our residents on the north side of town.
Absolutely.
Others? Madam Mayor?
Yes, sir. Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Ms. Thompson. Councilman Davis, did you want to say something?
No, my colleague very well said, and I really appreciate it, and thank you for bringing the project to us. And we'll make sure Mr. Miller, Terry Miller, the architect, make it real pretty.
We do have a standard on how we build our properties. You won't be able to tell it from a market rate property. They look just that nice.
Okay.
Madam Mayor?
Yes, sir. Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Ms. Thompson, for coming in and presenting. Looking at a lot of the slides, and thank you for being comprehensive. On number 5, when you talked about your development team, the previous plan, of course, we did see Golden Memorial United Methodist Church, and I see members here as well, but there isn't anything mentioned in your entire presentation about how was the church connected, because that was something
that is
working.
my oversight. They are part of the GP, and they will receive 15 to 20% of our development fees as it relates to what comes in after we construct the property.
Okay, because that was really one of the strong selling points for the city council, was that the proximity of this project to the church, and that, seniors that, and Councilmember Dr. Berdanley asked this question initially about walkability. I think it was you, Councilmember Berdanley, walkability from the church to the senior facility, and now that would not be wouldn't be an option because it's going to be far away, unless there's a trail and based on where it's going to be located, it is not in the same area. I mean, it's the same area, but not walkable.
Okay, so that's duly noted. I will have to go back and we have another design meeting on Monday, so we will bring that up in our design meeting.
Okay, and then the other thing was, in your presentation that you talked about Atlanta Regional Commission and the statistics that they had given you, you highlighted senior housing, and of course we need senior housing. As I've said, I'm getting into the senior housing age myself. But there also says a higher cost for sale single-family homes and the missing that middle housing. So we have to look at everything in totality, and that, again, supports what Councilmember Dr. Berdanley has said about bringing the area up to, you've heard some other presentations while you were sitting here this evening, and we're really trying to get the quality so that it's seamless in the city of Douglasville, that it doesn't matter what side of town you're living on, that it all looks like the city of Douglasville, and not one area to hold the the burden of tax credit housing. And we do have some in the downtown area, and we have 2, I think, proposed on Doris Road or something that are coming up for DCA.
Yes, ma'am. I know that Ward 2 does have their share of
Yes,
those types of developments also, so.
Yes.
It is spread out.
Yes, sir. And then the last thing, Assistant City Manager, what's the subdivision off of 92 where it is in Palmer Falls, but those homes are selling like hotcakes, where Witherspoon lives? Gateway, yes. So market rate is doing well. And then the last thing about the statistics that you had given us in the projections for the future from ARC of 700 units before 2015, you did mention that we are well on our way to meeting the needs for mixed housing with 170 and 308 units. So that gives us 478. And if we were to take the 165 that you're proposing, that's at 643, and we're in 2022. So we will max out at 700 that's projected until 2025. So that's all the comments I have. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
I do have one more comment.
Yes, ma'am.
I want to say that this project is unique because it is unique for seniors. But I really would, thank you, Madam Mayor, would like to see, I'm glad that you have your meeting on Monday because this goes for a vote on Monday. So you're going to hit the ground running after we leave here, I'm sure, to make sure that just courtesy to Chicago Park. I did email my contacts in Chicago Park, and then also just as it relates to the walkability, that's a big deal for seniors because we do have a trail study already in place. So this would be perfect to have that connectivity with the park and how we're doing things now.
Yes, I do. I have a lot of homework ahead of me tonight.
Feel free to
over the
call on
weekend,
us.
So I will be diving into that trail study and is it LCI?
Yes, ma'am.
Study.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I
Go ahead.
apologize for
Go
my
ahead.
second appearance. This is real fast. You did say in the studies also that 62 and older, that not driving, I know a lot of 62-year-olds, and I'm not talking about anyone in this room.
Yes, you are.
But they still drive cars. So,
Yes, you are.
So,
I think I stand to be corrected, but I think Ms. Reed said that.
no, she was not 62. But so coming out on Chicago Avenue, that was the other thing that made me a little bit concerned. The initial proposal that we had about 8 months or so ago, or in 2020, that exit and entrance did not come out on Chicago.
Right.
So that's a busy street. And for elderly, that may make them a little bit nervous. I have new drivers, and they get nervous driving on some of the streets that are busy. So just a concern about, and you said you had a decel lane.
Yes, ma'am.
For seniors, but I think 62, I'm planning to still be driving if the Lord allowed me to be here. So, that's a busy street, so that's a concern as well. Thank you.
Oh, I'm sorry. One other question. You said that all household residents have to be 62.
Correct.
So I know I brought this up before. So my husband's 10 years older than I am. So if you have a spouse that's a little younger, you still wouldn't qualify?
So the way the rules work, if they go in together, that person may not qualify based off of, the head of household has to qualify.
The head of household.
The head of household has to qualify. And normally, after the head of household has qualified and lived in that unit for about a year, then the next, their spouse or what have you should be approved to stay in there. And I stand to be corrected
I'm
on
just
those
asking.
rules. I don't want to say anything that's going to negatively impact it, but the head of household has to income qualify.
Okay, all right, that makes me feel better.
So you don't have to live separate for the first year? Is that?
No way.
I'll let you guys know.
Let's get back to the zoning issue we have, okay? Thank you.
Thank you. I don't
for
have any
that.
other questions. Yes, sir.
I do want to ask one question, and Ms. Reed may be able to help us. We may need our assistant city manager to get involved. The size of the project that was approved, that was connected to Golden United Methodist Church, was approximately 20 acres. How many units did we approve on that 20 acres? Was it 165? Whomever can answer if you can.
Yeah, your ordinance that I have here does say 165.
Okay, so we have previously already approved 165 units on 20 acres. Now the request is for 165 units on 9 acres.
And the density on those 20 acres was about 20 units an acre, and our density is still less than that on the 9. It's right at 18,
I beg to differ. If you stay with the same number of units and you cut the size of the property in half, you don't stay with the same density, ma'am.
No. What I was saying is that the initial density for the first plot of land, I believe, was like 20 plus units per acre, and I stand to be corrected on that.
Well, that's my point. That's my point. If you had 20 acres and going to put 165 units on it, and now you have 9 acres and you want to put 165 units on it, that's more than double the density. Okay, so 165 units on 20 acres is 8.25 per unit per acre. Okay. 165 on 9 acres is 18 units per acre. That's twice the density. I need us to reel us back in as to the issue here, okay? Okay, we need to have the public hearing, so we need to give opportunity for anyone to speak. If there's no other questions or comments of council or Madam Mayor, we'll open the floor. Ms. Thompson, is that your presentation?
Yes, sir. Yes,
okay.
Sir.
Okay, I just want to give opportunity for the public. Okay. Is there anyone here that would like to speak either for or against this application? Please come forward. Give us your name and address for the record, and we would love to hear from you.
One item to clarify.
Record, please, sir.
Sure. My name is Josh Carnes, 2951 Flowers Road South. The original rezoning was 7.86 acres.
Who just told me 20 acres? Okay. That's what I needed to know. I wasn't aware. Thank you. No problem. Who else?
Good evening to the Honorable Mayor Robinson and council members. Here we are again. We have been working with Benoit for a while. My name is Mary Riley Armstrong. My address is 955 Laurel Springs Lane Southwest in Marietta, Georgia. I'm a member of Golden United Methodist Church for about 13 years now, so that is my involvement in this, as well as liaison between Benoit and Golden for the last 3.5 years that we've been working on this project. Our pastors are Reverend Robert King. He sends his regards. He wanted to be here, but his mother passed away, and he is taking care of family business in Columbus, Georgia. So he sends his regards. And he will not be back until next Friday, so he probably won't be here Monday as well, but he sends his regards. Now the senior housing project, the Golden United Methodist Church and the Benoit Group have been working together on this for about 3.5, almost 4 years. And it is a benefit to Golden, as Ms. as Raven stated, because of the development fees, so forth and so on, that Golden will gain from the project. That's the monetary part. But as you heard in the past, when Reverend Gregory Williams was our pastor at the time, the monetary part is very important, of course, but we were not trying to get this push forward just because of monetary. We're trying to do something for the community. Our church is located right there in the community where there is a need for senior housing for people that don't make $100,000, $200,000, $300,000 a year. And we haven't had developers knocking down our doors for that side of town, which is the north side of town. But at the same time, we were not looking for a developer to do shabby housing or to do Section 8 housing. We're not trying to bring the community down. We're trying to lift it up as a good steward of Golden Memorial. So Benoit has an excellent reputation. I have seen some of their work, and I know you guys probably know them too. We Golden would not partner with anyone of that sort, because we don't need any more Section 8. We don't need any more of that on the north side of town or any part of town in Douglasville, Georgia. So that being said, before, just to clear up one thing, and I'm not the technical person, but I am a Golden person. I've been on this since day one. And what might be confusing you, Councilman Adams, the original plan where the units were going to be built, Golden owned the land, of course, was only 7-point-some acres, not 20 acres. We do own 20 acres, but Benoit contracted for only 7 acres. So that might be, that might clear that up. Now they have contracted for 9 acres. Now that's more, so that sort of explains that. Now the thing is, God works in mysterious ways, because that 7 acres that you guys and everybody approved 2 years ago or a year ago had a water feature that was seasonal. We didn't know it, Benoit didn't know it, so that's why they couldn't use that 7 acres. They had to move the development forward and resituate it so that they wouldn't have another $300,000 in redesign costs. And because we're just blessed that they are still hanging with us. Most developers probably would have walked away by now. We're just so glad they didn't. But getting to the ecumenical side, we need this senior housing on the north side of Douglasville, because most people that I know, first of all, this is my home, even though I live in Marietta, born and raised right here in Douglasville, still go to church here in Douglasville, family in Douglasville. I know so many people that have been asking, when is the senior housing coming? Because their income level is right at the point where this is the only place in Douglasville, Georgia, that they can afford to live as seniors, so they say. Not that I'm not a senior, but I don't plan to move out here, so they know what they can afford. And this developer is the only one that has come forward to help us with that project. So this is just another way that Golden is trying to give back to the community. And we hope you guys approve it next Monday. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Others that would speak for the project, please come forward. How much time do we have, Ms. Acker? Okay. Yes, ma'am. Go ahead. How are you?
I'm doing good. How you doing, Mayor and Council? Marilyn Clark, 8407 Military Way, Douglasville, Georgia. I'm the new Horizon Chair. I've been involved because I'm Golden, and it's kind of like dealing with both sides. I've been with Benoit as well as with the community on this project. The one thing that I think, Councilman Adams, that you said, the street, Vanzant Mill Road, the abandoned street, this project was always coming out on Chicago Avenue from the start. We knew it was abandoned street. Even when it was on you approved for the other site, it was still going to come out on Chicago Avenue. Okay. That was part of the development, because the one thing that we talked with Benoit, it was going to be the buffer, but it was going to be they was going to open up the street all the way to the project. So they just, we with New Horizon know that they're moving. They had to move the land lot closer to Chicago Avenue. We don't disapprove. We still stand in agreement with the project going forward as far as the community. there's a couple of things that I talked to them during the zoning meeting, was the connecting the project with Willing Workers Park. That was always talked about with us, because what Golden wanted to connect with Willing Workers Park. We wanted Benoit to connect with Golden Park. We wanted the trail system back in through the woods to connect with Willing Workers Park, and I know the city also want a connectivity. So we've already talked to them about it. I know they're under new leadership, but a lot of the things that we talked about with the community with them, it's just basically, I guess maybe me bringing them up to date with everything that we talked about, so that they'll know where the park is and know the downtown, the new downtown plan as far as the community and that side of town, the New Horizons side of town. But we are still standing with them in agreement.
Thank you.
And she assured me that none of their plans have changed from what we've already discussed with them.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Just to be totally transparent, understand, we don't have a copy of the old development plan or the old zoning that was done in 19 in front of us. And so I apologize for that misleading comment there. But I'm not aware, I don't remember the entrance and exit being off of Chicago Avenue. I remember it being through Golden off of James Simpson, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know. I don't have it in front of me, so we can verify that. Any others? Anyone else that would like to come forward and speak concerning this matter, then for or against now? Let's close it down. Anyone else? Okay, Madam Mayor, do you have any other questions, or council?
Nope.
No other questions or comments? I think we have expended our
Beat the
time on
horse.
the item. Then we will take this up on Monday, and we appreciate you all coming in. Thank you for your information. Madam Mayor, I do have just one more item.
Just one more, E.
Consider a request for a revised plat approval for Northern Tool and Equipment Store for the purpose of combining Tracks 8 with the right-of-way of Dogwood Hills Drive for 2.8 acres at 7150 Concourse Parkway, Land Lot 160, District 2, Section 5, Parcel 26, parcel ID number 01600250126. Application by SD Douglasville LLC, care of Jeff Wakeman. Ms. Reed?
Yes, sir. As you've mentioned, Northern Tool and Equipment Store is asking to revise an existing final plat. Some time back, they were able to purchase land from the city that was right-of-way. They're asking to revise the plat so they can be reflected on the plat to continue their development.
Basically, this would be a housekeeping issue then, so that they're revising their plat now to reflect the property that they purchased that was a previous part of the right-of-way for Dogwood Hills Drive. Is that correct?
That is correct, sir.
Okay. Questions, comments? Anyone? Okay. Not seeing any question or comment from anyone, then we will go forward with this on Monday.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Reed, for all your help tonight. And Madam Mayor, that's all that we have tonight under Planning and Development.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for your patience, and thank you, staff. We appreciate you, Ms. Reed, bringing the information to us. We'll move on then to the next committee. It's Public Improvement and Beautification Committee. That's chaired by Councilmember Nicole Miller.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We have no business this evening.
Thank you, ma'am. Public Relations Committee, chaired by Councilmember Howard Estes.
We have no business this evening. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
You're welcome. Thank you, Councilman Estes. Public Safety Committee, chaired by Councilmember Samuel Davis.
Yes, ma'am. Madam Mayor, we have a couple items. And starting with item A, consider the application for open container day permit every Wednesday starting June 8th through August 3rd, 2022 in the downtown Douglasville for Wednesday wind down, submitted by Jason Post, Community Relations Department, City of Douglasville. Mr. Post.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Jason Post, Community Relations Department, 6695 Church Street. So we have our Wednesday wind down concerts that are queued to start up on June 8th. They are coming back downtown this summer, and we have 9 shows programmed to run June 8th through August 3rd. And we are hoping to enact the entertainment district for those shows, just the Wednesday evenings of those shows. So we'll be working with the downtown restaurants and businesses to make them aware of the extra foot traffic that will be coming. And we've worked with Major Davison and the police department to make sure that we have the appropriate number of officers available each evening for each show. I'd be happy to answer any questions I can about the request or about the concert series.
Mr. Post, there are going to be armbands and certain type of cups. A couple of restaurants have asked me about that. Were they required to
For
have
the
certain
open
armbands?
containers.
Yes, Councilman Davis. So for open container days, each restaurant downtown, they will be presented with a band and a certain cup. At that time, they'll say whether they want to be put into the entertainment district for that day. If not, then our staff won't give them the wristband and the cup to give out to individuals that would like to be within that entertainment district area. And then from there, we do send out the information to all the businesses just so they know. And then the police department is there so they also know individuals with those certain color wristbands and cups are allowed to walk around. They have been checked for ensuring that they're 21 plus to be able to carry around alcoholic beverages that they purchase from our downtown businesses that would like to be within the entertainment district day.
So in other words, the restaurant will have the armbands, all the restaurants will have certain armbands.
Yes, all
Okay.
restaurants will have the bands only. No staff from the city of Douglasville will have the bands to pass them out. It will be restaurants only that actually have their alcohol permit to be able to serve and pour.
Okay, yeah, because the restaurant, a couple of them asked me about it. And, okay. Anyone else? No? Okay. Can I put this on the consent agenda for Monday with an armband? Okay. Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'd like to put this on the consent agenda
Yes,
for
sir.
Monday.
Nodding heads.
Okay, moving on to item B, authorize the Douglasville Police Department to apply for the 2022 Bulletproof Vest Grant from the U.S. Department of Justice, DOJ, Bureau of Justice Assistance in the amount of $30,600 for half the cost of 40 bulletproof vests. Yes, sir, I'm looking at the price.
Tommy Newton, Douglasville Police Department. Vest, or the grant, will be is the 22 Bulletproof Vest Grant. It's put on by the Bureau of Justice Assistance. The vests are $765 a piece. We're estimating we're gonna need about 40 this year. That comes up to $30,600. Once the grant will reimburse us half the cost of each vest that we purchase. So if we're a little over, a little under, it'll, whatever the money comes up to, that's what they'll reimburse us. Right now, we're looking, if we do the 40, it'll be $15,300 is what will be reimbursed. It's the same grant we've done in the past. The vest expires every 5 years, so we have a replacement schedule of how we follow, or what we follow to know how many we need.
What happened to the old vests? Do we trade them in, or they take them, give us a credit?
No, that once the 5 years is up, they're basically trash. We have a very large stack of them downstairs. There's really no viable plan that anybody has come up with to use the vests after because they're technically expired, so you can't put them on anybody. So nobody, they can't reuse the material.
Okay, all right. Councilman, Mayor and Council?
Mr. Chair,
T. Miller?
actually, that was the question I was going to ask you about, the expiration of 5 years. Is that because the material deteriorates, or is it just the warranty is no longer there?
The warranty is no longer.
As a Kevlar, you would think it'd last a while, but.
Yeah, they want, anything we have that's ballistic is usually got a 5 year. Our helmets, our shields, everything's usually 5 years.
Okay.
And that's all they'll do.
Thanks. That's all, Mr. Chair.
Okay, what do you do with them? You send them strapped, or you just bury them? Or?
Yeah, actually, we've got, unless they've gotten rid of them, we have a stack that's probably about that tall downstairs because we don't want to just put them in the trash. And so
somebody get them.
We don't really have a whole lot to do with them.
Okay, Madam Mayor, I'd like to put this on the consent agenda for Monday.
Yes, sir.
Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. That's all I have, Madam Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Councilman Davis and Captain Deming. Please forgive me. I met with Judge Detmering earlier for Rotary, and I called you Detmering earlier this evening. Okay, I apologize. I apologize. We'll move on to the next committee, which is a Recreation, Culture, and Tourism Committee, and that's Councilmember Chris Watts.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We have two items tonight. Item A, authorize the mayor to sign a service agreement with the Cultural Arts Council, Douglasville, Douglas County, Inc., for cultural arts services. Ms. Chelsea Jackson will handle this.
Thank you, Councilman Watts. So as you know, about a couple of weeks ago, Ms. Leitner came before you all, and she talked about the scope of services that she's presenting for the upcoming fiscal year, as well as the previous services that she's done over the last couple of years. You also know that over the last year, she's come and asked for an increase due to certain budget restraints. We haven't been able to do that, but with ARPA funding, we do have enough in the funding to support her increase. She's asking for an increase to $75,000. Currently, the city pays about $55,000 from our general fund to support the cultural arts services. And we did look into our budget. Like I said, with ARPA funding and whatnot, we can support that increase of about $20,000, as well as since she is increasing her scope of services for this year.
Thank you, Ms. Jackson. Do we have any comments? Yes, Mayor Pro Tem.
Yeah, I'll just say that money spent on the arts is money well spent in the community.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Councilman Estes.
I agree with Mayor Pro Tem. I mean, the CAC has been a shining light in this community, particularly through the pandemic. And I think this is, especially since we can get the additional funding from ARPA, this is a fantastic thing.
Yes.
Thank you, Councilman. Any other comments or questions? All right, if it pleases the council, I would like to place this on the consent agenda for Monday. Item B, appoint Joshua Wilson to serve as the Post 7 representative on the city's Parks and Recreation Advisory Board for a 3-year term expiring on February 15th, 2025. And this would be an addition. He would be serving his first term.
That is correct, Councilman Watts. So Mr. Joshua Wilson, he has never been appointed to a board here at the city of Douglasville. He's looking to be appointed to the Parks and Recreation Advisory Board for his first term that will expire in 2025. Post 7 is for an individual that lives in Ward 3. I have verified with Councilman Davis. This is his recommendation that he would like to put forth for council to vote on.
I have a comment.
Yes.
This appointment is going to take the place of Ms. Dobbs?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so did she finish her term?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. And I just would like to say, and to Councilman Davis, and thank you, Coach Watts, for asking us prior to, the night that we were going to vote on this, I just would like to say in the future, just to make sure that the transition from one to another, because I think she had already received a letter and information, and, and then we're appointing someone else. I just wanted to make sure just the tastefulness and courtesy is done a little bit better than that. That's it.
Yes,
And
ma'am.
Councilwoman Danley, staff will ensure that the transition is correctly. I do know that Ms. Dobbs was asked if she would like to be reappointed. Of course, everyone knows that to be asked, it doesn't necessarily mean that you would be reappointed, because we do send out the information as it relates to any board vacancies to everyone in the city, any residents that would be like to, but we'll make sure that in the future we'll ensure that the transition is more smoothly. Yes, ma'am.
It goes without saying that we appreciate Ms. Dobbs' contribution and service on that board.
Great.
And appreciate the fact that she was willing to serve again. But as it's been pointed out, spreading it around, giving other folks an opportunity if there was a desire there, and apparently there was. So thank you. Anybody else have any questions or comments? If it pleases the council, I'd like to place this on the consent agenda. Madam Mayor,
Looks like this.
is that okay?
Yes, sir.
And we have no other items under Recreation, Culture, and Tourism.
Thank you so much, Councilman Watts. We'll move on to item 15, Technology Committee, chaired by Councilmember Mayor Pro Tem Terry Miller.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We have no business at this time under the Technology Committee.
Thank you, sir. Transportation Committee, chaired by Councilmember Dr. LaShawn Danley.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We have one item tonight, and I will read it as follows. Adopt a resolution to apply for the U.S. Department of Transportation's multi-model project discretionary grant opportunity, which is also the acronym MPDG, for the purposes of the reconstruction of Fairburn Road and the Bill Art Road Bridge at I-20, to commit to a 20% local matching fund requirement. Mr. Thompson.
All right, good evening. Marcus Thompson, City Engineer, 6701 Church Street. All right, so the resolutions before you will support staff in taking advantage of a funding opportunity known as the Multimodal Project Discretionary Grant, offered by the U.S. Department of Transportation under the bipartisan infrastructure law, in which nearly $3 billion will be awarded to infrastructure. Staff is currently in the process of putting together an application for the request of $12.7 million for the reconstruction of the Fairburn Road corridor that will require a 20% local match in the amount of approximately $2.5 million, in addition to a request of $15 million for the reconstruction of the Highway 5 bridge, which will also require a 20% local match in the amount of approximately $3 million. Also would like to note that staff has the hopes that the upcoming SPLOST will be passed so that we could use those funds towards the match that we have to provide, and also we're looking to use the ARPA funds that could be available as well. And then there's also a note of some additional SPLOST funds from this current SPLOST that's remaining that we could use the funds to provide the match. Are there any questions?
So if we hope the SPLOST will pass,
Yep.
and you said the HARPA, however, if it doesn't, where can we look for those funds? I know our budget hearing is coming up soon. Is that, not budget hearing, I'm sorry, budget workshop.
Yeah, I would also like to point out the fact that if we don't have the funds readily available, we do have the option to decline the grant
With no
opportunity.
penalty?
Yeah.
All right, thank you. Yes, Councilman,
Yeah,
Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Madam Chair. On the two resolutions that you've attached, they both reference the Fairburn Road corridor.
Yeah, I noticed that while I was sitting up
Okay.
in the audience. So there was an error on our end.
Okay, I want to make sure I wasn't misunderstanding.
Right.
Yeah.
So I won't ask for this to be put on the consent agenda. I'm sorry. Do we have any other questions or comments? Madam Mayor?
Oh, just quickly, thank you so much, Mr. Thompson, for enduring the meeting and bringing this to us. We're excited about it. And of course, as Mayor Pro Tem said, that was going to be my concern, or that I didn't see Bill Larp in the bridge on I-20, which is much needed.
Yes.
So I hope that we can find the 20% to match for Fairburn and Bill Larp to help with mobility.
Right.
Thank you.
Okay.
This grant includes, is this going to be a rebuilding the bridge as it is or adding additional lanes?
Yeah, I was just about to address that. So the funding provided will basically allow us to implement the diversion diamond interchange that was recommended in the Highway 5 land use study provided by AECOM. So it'll be for the construction of that feature.
Also include property acquisition if necessary?
Yes, sir.
Madam Chair, I just was wondering, will I have an opportunity? Will I have an opportunity to still be alive when this is all done? Because these things take a while, don't they?
That's a good question.
I just, well, that's true. I mean, yeah, tomorrow's not promised, but,
Oh, Lord.
you know, how long does a project like this usually take once the shovel hits the dirt? I know that's a tough question, I'm sorry.
That's a tough question to answer, yeah.
But anyway.
Will all be buried as part of the...
If you want to know what did you call the diamond?
The
Virgin Diamond. If you want to just go over to Marietta over there off of Windy Hill and be prepared to grip the steering wheel a little tight as you negotiate that until you get used to it. But thank you.
285 and Camp Creek Parkway.
Yeah. Thank you.
And also I want to add, I know there was some talk about the Northside Trail plan, so we are looking into a grant for that project as well. It's provided by the GDOT. It's called the TAP.
Okay.
So hopefully we'll be able to submit an application and get some funding for that project as well. So.
Okay. If there are any other comments, thank you, Mr. Thompson. I won't add this to the consent agenda so you can correct the error that's in there.
Okay.
So that's it. I want to, but we'll wait until Monday. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. I saw a Kinsey face on that one. Thank you so much, Madam Chair. We'll move on to other business. Is there any other business to come before us this evening? Yes, ma'am? Your face looked like you wanted to talk. Oh, your stomach, mine too, growling. Any other business from council members? I would announce that today there was a groundbreaking ceremony, and Mayor Pro Tem was there at the Sheriff's Department. You didn't know what we were doing over there?
Oh, actually, I had a business meeting.
Oh, okay. Well, there was a groundbreaking ceremony today at the Sheriff's Department with the Douglas County Board of Commissioners for Driver Services. The chairman of Driver Services came in, Mr. Chairman Moore, and it's going to be an 8,000 square foot full-service driver services for Douglas County right in front of the Sheriff's Department. And so taking your driver's test, renewals, everything, ID, state IDs, everything that's offered in Marietta or in Carrollton will be right here in Douglas. And the time frame for it to be built out is from 12 to 18 months. So that's exciting.
Yay, that is great.
For your renewal, for your license. Yes, sir. Any other business? If not, then we'll move on to updates from city staff or our city attorney, Mr. Joel Dodson.
No business, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Attorney Dodson. The police department, Captain Deming, and thank you so much. Our city manager's department, Assistant City Manager, Ms. Chelsea Jackson.
No business tonight, Madam Mayor. Thank you.
What? Okay, thank you. Comments from citizens and delegates. If you sustain the meeting and you'd like to speak to us about any business that's germane to the city of Douglasville, please come to the microphone, and you have 5 minutes to address myself and council members.
Hello again. My name is David Cox.
Yeah, Mr. Cox.
7223 Cedar Forest Drive.
Yes, sir.
And I'm glad to have this opportunity to talk to you about a problem that we have experienced at Cedar Place. I talked with Sam in reference to the road that's called Cedar Mountain Road. I think that it's got a sign that says Braylon Manor Road, something like that now. It's changed. But I've been the president of the Homeowners Association for a number of years, and the city has helped us in some ways. In some ways, we've now come to a place where we're going to have to do something a little bit different with that road. We, to give you a little history, and I'm trying to make this fast, when Braylon Manor it was actually all part of Cedar Place at one particular time. The builder and the developer both went belly up. We had situations where our roads were left unpaved. We had to come to the city to get that done. Mickey Thompson was actually the mayor at that particular time. We had a situation where the builder, prior to going belly up, wanted to come through our subdivision to connect to Braylon Manor, which is now called Braylon Manor. That, of course, our people did not want that to happen. We didn't want the cut through. So, of course, he needed another way to come into Braylon Manor, which was opening up Cedar Mountain Road, which runs along the back of these people's property. There's very, very little easement that's there as far as the city property and where the street comes to where these people live, in their backyard. We went to court. I guess the builder, because apparently he got somehow, I don't know if he came to you all, but he got approved to open up that road. We then turned around and we protested, and of course there was a stay until we was able to go to court. He won the court case, and so therefore immediately the road was open. He then went belly up, and then we have a new developer at this particular time who owned it and built all these homes. The problem is the fence served its purpose when there was no homes there. Now there's development. We have all these homes with all these cars coming through. You have cut through that's coming through from Chicago Avenue, coming through there, that's now using that street to go across the railroad tracks. We're having a problem with us coming out of our subdivision where people are not stopping because of Cedar Mountain Road is now being open, and we're almost having collisions right there at that particular intersection. There's just a number of problems. The fence has now been broken at least 5 or 6 times. We've had the city to come back out and repair it. It served its purpose, and at this particular time, like I was telling Sam, there's something else that needs to be done at this point, because There was a high-speed chase recently behind there. Car turned over, ran into the person's backyard, and of course, the fence now is broken again. During the pandemic, we had to wait because a pizza delivery driver went through there and ran into the fence. There are no lights. There is no sidewalk in this area. And it's very dangerous. And people are using it. Once that happens, we get all this traffic in the back of our homes. Luckily, I'm at the curve, so therefore they have to come up the hill in order to even do that. But the fence, the maintenance of the fence is horrible. And it's just not right because of the fact that we've had to endure this for this period of time. So we're open to suggestions. We just wanted to bring it to your attention tonight, and hopefully there's something that can be done, because it's not our fence, but we do contact them. We have the people to contact UL's office from our homeowner association to reach out to you to see if you can get there to repair it. It took almost 7 months before someone was able to, and these yards were open where people can come through. So we're asking you to just take a look, see what we can do, explore ideas. We'll be willing to work with you and try to see what's best for our community. And we just thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Cox. So Assistant City Manager, make certain that we have that information to talk to public safety and see what we can do. I'm not sure if it's a private matter in the residential area or not, but thank you. And I did have the video from Pastor Hubbard that I passed on to the chief, so, with the high-speed chase. Okay. Any other comments from citizens and delegates? If not, if we don't have any other business to come before, oh, yes, ma'am, you have to come to the microphone, Pastor.
I have a suggestion. I don't know if it can be done. Oh, do I need to reintroduce
Yes,
myself?
yes, ma'am. Say your
I'm
name,
sorry.
ma'am.
Pastor Madeline Hubbard, Cedar Place Subdivision, 7222 Cedar Forest Drive.
Yes, ma'am.
I've also spoken with you all about the traffic issues that we're having trying to come out of the subdivision, even with our buses trying to get back out because people are running it is a stop sign. I don't know if there's any way that the police department can put cameras right there where they are supposed to stop to kind of help deter some of the traffic, of people just flying through. We've already almost had accidents there. The other thing is, now that they're talking about, coming across the tracks, we got a two-way signs now. I don't know if we need a light there or what. Something, it's going to be really bad because of so much traffic coming from Chicago Avenue. Everybody is coming from Paulding County now, and since 92 has been closed, everybody cutting through. So it's making it almost difficult to get out of the subdivision for us. So I don't know if I know the stop sign is there, but they're not stopping. So if we can get I don't know if you could even put a traffic light there, something to help deter all that traffic, because I don't want anybody to get killed. I don't want our children on the school buses. It's dangerous there. What about speed bumps down, but is that a city road? I'm not sure who would handle that, but even if we could get speed bumps, that could slow down some of the traffic at least before they get to the stop sign. Just trying to stop an accident before more happen, because we are already having accidents on Cedar Mountain Road.
Yes, ma'am.
So that's my concern as far as to us being homeowners and trying to come out of our subdivision. It's almost difficult.
Yes, ma'am.
Madam Mayor?
Thank you so much. Yes, sir.
I believe many years ago that fencing, Mr. David, I think that fencing many years ago, the city put that fencing up.
Yes.
Yeah, so I'm hoping Mr. Roberts jot it down and get a chance to come over and let me know when you're going over, Mr. Robert, and I'll meet you over there, because it's a bad situation over there.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. Any other comments from citizens and delegates? If not having any other business, then this meeting is adjourned.